Primary ignition.
This is Star Wars.
Look out!
Core World News.
You may fire when ready.
From the Dune Seas of Tatooine, I'm Greg Stunback, and you're listening to Core World News, your trusted alternate news service, providing in-depth coverage for the latest stories from around the galaxy. Now, a news second rundown for February 3rd, 2022. The book report of Boba Fett. And now, your host, Ben and Adam, to talk about the Book of Boba Fett, Chapter 6. From the desert, a stranger comes.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Rex.
How are we going to talk about this? Because
I'm
still
I-
convinced.
There's a lot
Yeah.
in here.
I'm still convinced it's
How
a
do you
fever
eat a
dream.
Rathtar? One bite at a time.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
I don't know if you guys know this, but Marshall's not for sale.
That is a great in. Instead of everyone's going to want to talk about you know who and you know what, and we'll get there.
The most stylish human in
Yeah.
Current
Let's talk
Star
Timothy Oliphant a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, can we talk about the crane down from the evaporators? Like,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
antennae right in the beginning. Like, were you not just swept away? Like, wow. Like,
Yeah,
you can tell
especially
Filoni's been like
Mos Helga
storyboarding this,
shot.
like penciling this in secret forever. I bet
This
this
is-
entire episode.
Correct me if I'm wrong. This is the third live action episode directed by Filoni in the series. Didn't he have one in season 1 and one in season 2 of
I
The
want to say there's
Mandalorian?
more, but
Third or fourth? Maybe it's the
He
fourth.
did the Ahsoka episode.
I thought he did one in
Did he do
season
one in
1.
season 1? I don't think he did one in season 1.
So is this even his second? But we'll double check.
did he not
that.
do 1 and 2 of season 1 with
I
Favreau?
think he did do number 1, wasn't he? Didn't he do
Yeah.
the first episode?
Yeah.
This is
Like,
good.
so-
This is good podcasting right here.
Isn't it
Why don't-
great? We
you
know our
talk,
facts.
I'll Google.
But my point is like similar to last week, we talked about Bryce Dallas Howard's third episode and how much the style in Star Wars has progressed for her. Same thing with Filoni. Like he can teach 3 episodes or 2 episodes or 4 episodes and whatever it is. He can teach a masterclass in directing Star Wars. Like it was. I mean, this
Yeah.
thing felt like a movie.
And
more than
written by
anything
Jon
else.
Favreau and Filoni with,
Yeah.
just initially right off the bat,
Mhm.
we hear just this like wonderful, gritty, like Western, like twang. And it's obviously Cobb Vanth. And
Yeah.
he's like, y'all know who you gentlemen are? He's like, think, and then like shoots them all down. He's like, think it through. Like, he's like, the lines, like just the
Yeah.
writing in this scene was like amazing. It was honestly one of the best sort of like Western
someone's like a
moments
big
I've seen in a long
Oliphant
time.
fan in there. Yeah,
Yeah.
whoever, like Favreau like knows how to write Oliphant
Yeah.
perfect. It's like justified in
Yeah.
space.
Well, that's the thing. Do you think he knows how to
Perfect.
write
Fits
Oliphant,
perfect.
or he just gets Oliphant and says, "Here's what we're doing. Just Oliphant it up. Just do
Yeah.
your Oliphant."
Yeah,
thing."
he's like, here's
He
what I
actually
was
ad libbed
thinking,
that. That
now
was that whole
just
scene.
make this,
Yeah.
yours.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he just that's how he talks. He was just like, oh,
I mean, so Grant or Ben, you might know this off the top of your head, and I can't think of his name. Who did Deadwood? The creator. Do you remember his name?
listen, I just googled Dave Filoni did 2 episodes last season. Then I can Google this. After.
2 episodes last season, so he's done 3.
Oh wait,
but-
no, two episodes in
David-
the first season.
David
He did
Milch.
the
David Milch.
Gunslinger, and
Yeah.
he did the season opener.
Right. Oh yeah, that was great. So,
Yeah.
and now Grant, you got the name. Who is it? Milch?
David Milch.
Milch.
Oh, Milch, yeah.
So Milch
Man.
was famous for in Deadwood going to his trailer, rewriting scripts, rewriting scenes immediately, and coming out and handing them to the actors and be like, "Say this now."
I'm
Yeah,
sure
so
that
it's
happens
like
all the time.
Changing the sides real quick.
Yeah, but
and
like
get your
this was
sides
like
and
this
change
is
them.
like Hollywood legend, like how he did this, and especially for the actors because the actors had no time to rehearse. So that I think speaks to Oliphant's ability to just inhabit this character.
Yeah.
And this character is very much the character.
He's
from
very
Deadwood.
diplomatic though. He's
Yeah.
like, he's like, consequently, like no laws have been broken. If you collect your wares and go back from where you came from, like we can chalk this up to reading the map wrong. You know what I mean? Like he just like
Yeah.
calls them out. Like it just like fixes the situation immediately. Tells them they can go back the way they came and not traffic their drugs through his territory.
Yeah.
And literally that is what this episode's about in a major way, which is the trafficking of spice through Tatooine. It's like
Yeah.
it's almost not harped on enough that this is like a major issue in the show that
Yeah.
Boba Fett is going to resolve kind of heroically. Mando sees this
Yeah.
almost as like a heroic stand against the spice running. And in the beginning here, we see Cobb Vanth, making his stand.
Well, it's similar in mob movies how you demonstrate the difference between, and again, this is from a criminologist.
Yeah.
Good mobsters versus bad mobsters. It's usually who's involved in the drug trade, right? Seems to be the delineation of who's heroic and who's the villain, and that's how they're going to do it in this show, which makes a lot of sense.
This actually felt quite intimidating. Like there's a terrifying element to this scene. It almost felt like a Cormac McCarthy kind of like novel or something. It just felt like when he says to leave the spice, when Vanth is like leave the chest, like unload your wares, like say it's a toll or whatever for coming through these parts, and then the guy's like, it's worth more than your village, and I was like, that was frightening.
Serious.
Like that almost was like Malik from the Old Republic. Like it was just like cool Vader. It just felt like very terror instilling it. I was excited by that.
It
The
felt
voice-
go ahead, Ben.
So I was just gonna say the sound design on the voice was like that's what did it for me.
Yeah, and it felt very non-Pike like, if that makes sense. Like I have not been intimidated by the Pikes necessarily, how they've been in other things.
Yeah.
And then suddenly in that one line, I'm like, oh no, they are actually
they are
a force to be reckoned with. Like that is great.
Yeah, they were intimidating in Bad Batch. They had that.
That's the
that
good point. I
Pike.
forgot about Bad Batch.
I mean, they were just killing fools in that cartoon.
Mhm.
I mean, it's
In
not
that
just a
cartoon.
Yeah, not just as it just sounds funny to say. That is no
Yeah.
way. That's like a digital video masterpiece.
Yeah.
Is pretty much from the end of Clone Wars.
Sorry,
straight through.
It's
Bad
also a cartoon. And by the way, if you call your comics a graphic novel, they're really comics. It's fine. It's okay to read comics. It's okay
Right.
to watch cartoons.
Wait, what is that? What he's like? He's like, these stripes mean I'm the sheriff around here, or like his belt.
Yeah, and
Like,
his belt buckle.
dude, that
Yeah.
belt's gonna be for sale tomorrow at Galaxy's Edge, and
Oh yeah, I'll
I'll
buy
be
that
first.
belt. Yeah,
Probably not Galaxy's Edge because I don't think it's period specific. But
Mm,
no, it could be age. It could be
Okay.
aged, rusted.
that's true. It
like,
could be a relic.
Ondar's.
The other thing is that scene does a really good job of showing the ethics of Timothy Oliphant's character, right? Why can't I think of his name?
Cobb Vanth.
Oh,
Cobb Vanth. I had his name down, and then once you introduce another person whose name begins with C, which we'll talk about a little later, it's erased Cobb Vanth from my brain.
yeah,
but,
it's tough
like,
in a script.
It shows his ethics, and part of me is like, I feel like they're setting up in this episode that he's too noble to survive on Tatooine. Right, because he has this ability, all this money that he could potentially make by selling these drugs if he just kicks it and just lets it go to the desert.
Go to dust.
Right. I mean, yeah. And then, and the end of this episode leaves me with like just this lingering question about relating to Cobb Vanth and the future of Freetown and Muspelgo. Like, I can't wait to discuss that. And yeah, in a Muspelgo show, I think Adam, we were talking before the record, and you were like, I would, like, you're like, honestly, I would watch. Yeah,
I mean, like
you go in the
Muspelgo,
same
right?
show. You get
I feel like we got backdoor pilots to 2 different shows in this episode. They're now spinning off their spin-off in this thing.
You guys are wilding. The first scene in this movie, and you're like in this show, and you guys are losing your minds. I have one note. It's Cobb Vanth. That's my note.
Right, but I was so in, and I
So
didn't
good.
I had no idea where the show was going. I
you
was thoroughly convinced it was not going in the direction it went, and so I settled into like, this is a Cobb Vanth. We're recruiting Cobb Vanth, and I'm all in. And the last thing I'll say about it is this episode gave me the one thing I've been waiting for in Star Wars, and it gave it to me twice, and that's a quick draw. There are 2 quick draws.
I thought you were
in
going to
this
say Jawas
episode.
on the crawler with the
Yeah, I
crate
know.
dragon.
I
skull.
mean, that gave me something I didn't know I wanted and didn't know I needed, and it gave
You
this
didn't know
episode gave
you-
me
that was
so
the
many
thing.
things
Didn't
I
know
didn't
you-
know I needed in Star Wars.
It's just like Filoni's hitting you over the head, or Favreau really, with the script. But it's just like one crazy thing coming into your eyeballs after another.
yeah.
And that was the crate dragon being like hauled away was the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Well, let's not skip ahead though. We'll get to Muspelgo, which is, I think, again, I agree with you, Adam. I think it'd be a legendary, iconic location for.
Yeah, it's like one street.
series, the one
It's
after.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now it has crate dragon bones supporting the roof.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, so cool. Yeah, that cantina, that's a nice establishment.
Yeah.
I love this 10 minutes of this episode.
So this cut, I immediately thought of Ben when it was just like the low angle of Mando flying the N1. Like that angle's disgusting, dude. It's so good. It's so pretty. Like it just feels
Carly.
Like he feels hemmed in there. It feels tight, but like it's a good shot. Like it relays the like how small that cockpit is and how close he is to space. And
I watched this with my wife. My favorite moment, because she does not dig on the prequels. She begrudgingly said as that ship landed, "Yeah, it's a pretty cool looking ship."
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah,
That's
it is.
funny. That's one thing Filoni always knows is like one of the key pieces to any good Star Wars is the long shot from the ship coming through atmosphere over the terrain into like whatever the landing pad is. They do it there, and then he does it again when he lands in Jabba's palace. And it's like it takes like 6, 7, 8 seconds to go through, but that's what I'm here for, because it's like that puts you there and just take that time to do it. But seeing him come in over the Pelgo as well.
And the sound design is really next level. It's wonderful.
It warms my heart every time I hear that engine roar.
The exposed parts really lend to like the vibrations through space and whatnot. It's really something else. Guys, this is this like get the tissues. Like I don't know. I was like I had to pause. I was like I need to pause this episode and like go sit down and come back.
Yeah.
This is where you see it's actually like a graphic match to the evaporators in the beginning, that same crane down, but we're now craning down on R2's antenna unit. And it's R2's antenna unit immediately because it has that little mesh dish that so memorable. And that was just wow. That was powerful.
Let's all take a minute about this shot, because I will let me clue you in. So as we talked about off air, I am done making predictions about Book of Boba Fett. I'm just letting Ben do it from now on. Because I clearly
a victory lap.
I know, like he should take all the victory laps, because I no longer am on the wavelength of this show, and I'm so happy that I'm off the wavelength of the show. But I literally said to Carly, and sorry, Ben. Ben thinks we're gonna see you know who. I'm like, that's never gonna happen, and she never on the same page. And then we come to the planet and we see R2, and I'm literally like, it's after dinner, so I'm like relaxing on the couch, and then I just hunch forward with my elbows on my knees, like in my hand, and then I sat like that for the next 45 minutes. Like I was just like, no, this is not happening. Like everything, and I'm like everything. I kept going, but you know who's not going to be there. It's going to be like he's away from keyboard right now, and then we get 30 minutes with him. Anyway, we'll get there, but like let's talk about R2. First,
that was a slap in the face. It was a slap in the face. I didn't even expect to see that character at all. I mean, I know I was talking about going there, but I just forgot about R2, and like to see him first, it was amazing and fun.
So Mando lands there.
Yeah,
meets up with R2 because you see that R2's been signaling him. I guess that's the waypoint for the Jedi Temple,
right? Yep. Or at least the one they gave. Yeah.
It's a bamboo world. We should say that. It's a forested sort of bamboo world.
Yeah. Still really unnamed world.
Stunning.
Planet. Still unnamed. Something different. We haven't seen something like this in Star Wars, which
craggy,
is
rocky, bamboo, mountainous terrain as well. Really beautiful, majestic valleys, rivers. Lots of scenery shots and lots of like, hey, we float down into the industrial antenna in R2 and some of the metallic, objects and elements, and then we float upwards into vistas and beautiful scenery on this planet in this episode.
And we get some real original trilogy wipes. I don't know if you've noticed that. They leaned in on the
vignetted.
Wipes.
There's a vignetted flashback in this that is like really reminded me of Anakin's, all his nightmares.
Yeah.
It's like all over again, but with a different character.
Sweaty.
It made Anakin's nightmares cool because you're like, oh, that's just how it works. You just have that terrible vignette. That's just why you get that. Okay.
So I feel like Filoni is like he really understands Lucas and like what his moves and his tendencies are, and I felt like this was I felt like a very Lucasian
Oh, the MO of the show is what would George do? They've talked about it openly. They're like, oh, we just think about what would George do about in this in this scene with this character.
So that kind of brings me to, this might get us off track for a second, but what the heck? This is an episode that's probably going to end up being 3 hours, because how do we not talk about this episode for 3 hours?
So much happened. I need to process it with somebody.
And there's so much. I only watched this once because I almost didn't want to watch it a second time. A, I didn't have time. B, I thought that didn't happen. Like,
it was
I was afraid I would rewatch it, it would be like, that's not the episode I saw. But there's, within this like 2 minutes where he lands, we have Naboobian Starfighter. I'm doubling down Naboobian. We have like R2. We then have Luke's academy being built, which we saw in the sequel trilogies, and those droids,
builder droids,
and we have the Mandalorian
music at that moment. And
hold on, we will get there.
That moment was unreal, honestly.
So Filoni and Favreau were able to weave in every single generation of Star Wars in 2 minutes, and this is the thing that's getting me really annoyed about the online people saying, "See, this is a love letter to this or that," and he's no.
Or it's fitting here because of this.
Exactly. They're like, voiced
This
in
is just
Star
them
Wars.
Organically riffing on what was Return of the Jedi. And that's it. Like,
not to get simplified, but the old phrasing, a rising tide lifts all boats.
Right.
That's what the Mandalorian and Boba Fett's doing. It's raising the prequels, the original, and the sequel trilogy all at once. Like, it's just building this world, pulling everything together in this beautiful way.
I was thinking about how many different authors and characters were in this show. Yeah, there's quite a few. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I will say Chuck Wendig's, made Cobb Vanth.
Oh, right. So, you're absolutely right. Yeah,
and,
good point.
That's a great character. But then you start thinking about it. There's certainly Lucasian characters in there. There's Filoni made characters in there.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there's just like a lot of different input.
But these droids, these builder droids, they've just gone to like the top of my droid list. Like, I love these droids. They kind of walk with their little grabber hand. Like, I love that. It just doubles as a head. Like, okay, that makes sense.
My headcanon is those are New Republic surplus that like he was able to like Leah was able to pocket for him, because they looked like brand new droids and they were all marked in like the New Republic color shield and all that. That's my headcanon.
Cool. So as I've talked about before, I watched these. Carly and I watched these with subtitles because kids sleeping upstairs, and Carly's like, "Those are cool androids," and then 30 seconds later, you hear the noise and it says "Android makes noise," so they're called androids. Yeah, and I'm like, that's exactly what those are. They're awesome.
Oh yeah, and they move like ants. Oh, that's perfect. Yeah. That scene, and they're clearly building what looks like a Jedi temple. It looks like an ancient Jedi temple, like what we see on Octu, and what we saw, what Luke's temple looked like before its destruction. So pretty cool. It didn't seem like the same planet as the planet shown in the flashback in Force Awakens, or
it did to me.
Last Jedi. It did. Okay.
Yeah. It
also looks like the one in the comic.
Yeah, I gotta look.
Yeah. Do you remember the comic where they like is that
Kylo Ren?
Yeah, there. That one. Yeah, I think that was it. The Rise of Kylo Ren.
Had the flashbacks with him training.
You see the thing on the hill. I don't know. I mean, it looks a little different, but it was close enough for government work for me.
Right.
Yeah, I assumed it was too, and based on Wikipedia, which is not the end all be all, they are identifying all of this as being part of all of that narrative, that this is Luke's academy.
Yeah, that's cool. They have to clear out some bamboo to create that sort of the scenery that I saw in that flashback. But I believe it. It's so cool because as we know, this is we're now going to see Luke, and what we know, we can infer now that Luke and Grogu are together, and ultimately what we learn in this episode, and it's not a huge reveal, but it's just something that it kind of an epiphany to me, which is like Luke's first apprentice is Grogu.
Yeah.
Like that is so beautiful. The poetry of that is beautiful.
I would take that a step further, actually. Yeah. I feel like he might not have even thought about being a teacher until he found Grogu.
Yeah, definitely. I think he learned how to teach.
Like, you know what? Yeah, he was enough to push him over the edge, be like, the Force is telling me to, build a Jedi school, and here we go.
Yeah,
I think that's a really interesting. I didn't think about that, but that makes sense. He was probably out just trying to, trying to figure out like what is the Jedi, what's like on a quest to get Jedi artifacts and learn about being a Jedi, and then this came to his across his radar. And he's like, well, now I'm a teacher, I guess, right?
Yeah,
And
because he couldn't pass up a creature that looked just like Yoda. Like there's no way. His sentimentality. He's like, wow, I get to give back. Or I mean, it's definitely a sign from the Force, right? When like your masters, like same
there's
species.
that beautiful moment in this where he's like, I'd like to tell you about someone who you remind me of. Like, I don't know.
He talked in riddles.
Quite a bit.
Did you love that, Grant? Because like I know how much.
I was like,
Yoda,
that was my moment. I was like, oh, they're finally honoring, what I Yoda gets a short shrift. I think a lot of people see Yoda as someone who's clouded and stubborn, and Luke had to do his own thing, and Yoda's not seen as kind of winning the day. But I feel like his teachings were really the light that prevailed. Like they're the things that got us through all of it, and I think that's key.
No, I literally think of, it's so dumb. I'm like 42 and I'm living my life, but like I will often in my mind repeat Yoda-isms to myself at times when I'm struggling, because their wisdom. Like it's dumb, but there are things there. The other thing about this is that I feel like it really is honoring that character. And there's a couple of moments where it could have felt like fan service or like schlocky fan service, but they were able to do it in a way that I'm like, there's
a lot of fan service.
There is, but like it works. And the other thing
there
is
was
about
no schlock in this. I was surprised.
No,
I was like,
they backed away when they almost got there a couple times. The other thing is, I felt nothing while watching this episode, and it's similar to when I watch a new Star Wars movie for the first time, because I couldn't allow myself to feel anything, because I would have been a mess. Yeah. So I kind of like, it's weird. The first time I watched this, I just shut myself down and was like very analytically watching this episode. And now I have it playing next to me and talking to you guys, and I think I might cry.
I promise you these lines will be in like future trailers, because there's such beautiful sound bites where he was like, he was small like you, but his heart was huge and the Force was strong in him. I was like, oh, these are like, this is describing Yoda. Yeah, he once said to me, size matters not. And that's where this pays that off, basically. Like that Yoda scene from Empire pays off in this episode, and it makes perfect sense. It's actually like highly organic that Luke would say that in this moment, just teaching this student, and he recognizes the power, the Grogu's abilities with the Force.
Following that lineup, we also get a bit of a hint at maybe where some of this might be going, because Luke then pointedly asked Grogu, did anyone else back home speak like that? Do you remember back home?
He tried to probe a little bit and like, what's your background?
Like, what's the Yoda plan?
I feel like that was the meta fan service bit, though, where it was like, we all like want to know where Yodas are.
But I love that. That's deep.
Groups.
Like everyone wants to know that,
Yeah.
And it also feels like Luke would be curious about that too.
Yeah, Luke would. He would be like, "Where are you from? I've never seen like species like you." And Yoda wasn't native to Dagobah. It was like he just chose that world, right? Like,
yeah, he just chose it.
It's not his.
It was a dark side world, and he wanted to hide himself in the dark side.
Yeah, that's fascinating to me. I don't know. It's just really beautiful moment. I don't want to skip over the frogs and the comedy bit where Grogu is just again trying to just eat this like Cyclops frog, and like Luke's like telling him to focus, and then Luke starts to levitate like all the frogs to almost show him like, if you do center yourself, if you do like hone the Force, like anything can be yours. But then at that point, hopefully you found balance, through your attunement, and it's just like, that's kind of the cycle I feel like Luke's trying to work into Grogu in this episode. And this is a great moment of potential for Grogu. This whole this episode feels like a big crossroads episode for Grogu. I feel like one of the most development for Grogu we've had for the past seasons. It's like, this is a Grogu. I'm going to say this out front. This is a Grogu episode.
It is.
Choice
in the Book of Boba Fett. So that's where I want to pause for a second and pull back from an analytical standpoint. Because what is this show? I don't know what this show is, because the first 4 episodes were the Book of Boba Fett. Then episode 5 was an episode of The Mandalorian. And episode 6 was a Grogu episode. They're building this weird, interesting world where they're just like, we'll just tell whatever story feels organic to
They
it.
could have worked in some
Yeah.
Pikes who like saw Mando as he was getting pulled over by X-wings, and then they could have had Ahsoka could have been told Luke that Mando's running with Boba or something.
Don't forget Ahsoka's
and
in
then
this
you just
episode.
work in the Boba thread through those outer stories, like just a little bit, just to
Yeah.
the point where it stays Boba related in some way.
Yeah.
And that way, it's like you don't have all this criticism. But I don't care. Like honestly, I was like, I don't care. Like this is amazing. They're like spoon feeding me some of the best Star Wars I've ever seen, like laid eyes on.
That's the thing. I think part of it is let's not treat these as separate shows.
Yeah.
Let's just treat this as season 1 was The Mandalorian, season 2 is also The Mandalorian, season 3 was Book of Boba Fett, season 4 will now be The Mandalorian again, right? Like it's part of a large story. And these are, as you know, when they did the Investors Day last year, they said these two shows and Ahsoka are going to intertwine and lead to an event. And so they're just doing the intertwine thing that you really just can't watch one with the other. And I'm okay with it. I mean, oh no, because of this, I had to watch an episode with Luke and Grogu. How sad.
I know.
Yeah,
These
it's
are like
wild that people critique this and be like, "There's not enough Boba in this Grogu and Luke and Ahsoka."
I know, but we got like
we
two
are
Boba
amazing
episodes last season in Mandalorian.
Right. Oh, good point. Yeah.
So they kind of
they
bought
pay it back.
It does make me wonder if they were like, this is one show, and they're like, maybe this is how we do it. But it doesn't. Ultimately, that question doesn't even need to be answered.
I almost feel like you could have exchanged showing Mando's impatience by being like, "Is there anyone alive here? Like, is there anyone here? Like, what is this, a bench? Like, do I have to wait here? How long do I have to wait here?" Like, instead of doing that scene, I think you could have done something where Ahsoka's like, "I know he's running with Boba Fett," and had Luke comment on that. And like, in that time, you know what I mean? Like in that those precious seconds, like those precious minutes right there. You know, like it was like, because I don't know. I mean, I guess they're showing that's the impatient path, but I felt forced to me. It felt like just trying to create the dichotomy that Mando's impatient. I feel like Mando's super patient. Like I feel like Mando's very tact. I don't know.
Yeah, the fact that he sat on the bench and then lied down, like that's something. Like he didn't just go storming off in the woods looking for.
That's true.
I think when I'm seeing that, I'm there with Din Djarin. I desperately fell in love with a puppet. Like I just can't wait for them to rejoin. I'm like on that storyline really a whole lot. But before we get into that, we skipped right over the like flashback that Luke.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. We're that's where we're at.
Side note: we're 13 minutes into this episode.
Oh my gosh, you're actually keeping track. What are you guys doing?
Well, because I have it playing in the background.
Scrubbing through the show.
I have it playing in the background.
I can move us at a pace if you want.
I don't think you can because
never rush.
I have this show playing in the background on my iPad, and I keep having to swipe left to pull it back because we're taking that long to talk about it.
Oh my god!
And like 13:09 is when the flashback starts.
All right, this flashback is incredible. We basically see, the 501st, right? Anakin.
Yep.
It's Anakin's,
looking down the barrel of the 501st.
Yeah, and it's like 20 of them storming down a hallway, firing at 3 Jedi. And
3 unnamed Jedi.
And Grogu's in what looks like a little pod, like the same sort of like crib like pod that we saw. Probably in the nursery area of the Jedi Temple, I imagine. But it's definitely the attack on the Jedi Temple. It's Order 66. It's that night. It's just tragic. Those 3 Jedi die. And then it looks like the clone troopers are just encroaching on Grogu, and then end of flashback. There's more to this flashback.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
Is there
what I just thought of just as you're saying that?
Yeah.
I think we mentioned it before. Captain Rex, probably.
Yeah.
I think that was his first moment, and he's like, "I can't kill a baby."
Comes off, and it's like, I can't.
Well, no, because Rex is out of there at that point, so it'd have to be another like random. But I do think he was Grogu was saved by a clone trooper based on that.
I like that. Is there a chance?
Can't shoot a baby.
Tamora Morrison, honestly, if it's like we can work on a clone trooper and all this, and it's like the one that saved Grogu, and it's like
it's a new clone
that character's
trooper.
Worked into the plot.
Yeah.
Let's do
Maybe
it.
someone we've never heard of before because he wanted completely
That makes
different
more
path.
sense. Yeah.
Or we like the redemption of Anakin Skywalker quite a bit in this whole thing. Is there a chance that of everything Anakin could bring himself to strike down a baby that looks like Yoda?
Yeah. That makes sense because Yoda's always been there to help him He's been like his therapist.
Yeah, but someone needed to take that baby into a spaceship and fly it somewhere. Like
that is true.
Because
Like, he
someone
was not capable
pointed
of
out like
getting
the
away.
Barris Sophie symbol on like the wall, but I was like, is she around at that point? Like, I don't.
She was at that point. I don't know. Wasn't
I don't know.
she?
Yeah, she made. Oh wait, no, she wouldn't have been there.
Wouldn't have been there.
She was excommunicated or whatever.
Right? Like that was because that was before Order 66.
I'm guessing it's Plo Koon, honestly. Like, come on. Like, I know we saw Starfighter, but
no,
it's
he was in a starship on
it's Filoni though. He'll like rewrite it.
I mean, guys, it's Jocasta New. We know it's all Jocasta New. So let's move on.
Jocasta New, right? That was our leading thing. This is again losing my mind. I'm like, am I watching the prequels right now? Like, am I watching the Storm, the Temple from Grogu's eyes? I did not think we'd get that, but it was like sequel. We went to a sequel like landscape, and then suddenly we're in a prequel landscape.
Then we have Luke. I mean, here's the thing. How expensive was this episode? Because apart from Captain Marvel, the movie Captain Marvel, this is the most screen time we've had for a de-aged person.
Wait.
And it's a show. It's an episode of a TV show.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It
it's beautifully composited, like that beautiful overlay. Like this time around, so Luke looks incredible. There's only one time I think when it's
don't look at the mouth.
Actually, when Grogu's coming out of the flashback, where there's like a side, it just doesn't look proportionately like Hamill. But other than that, it's perfect. Like
for how much screen time? Like Dave clearly worked on this because they may want to use this asset again. We'll talk about that later.
Oh, he just like hangs out and has conversations with people.
Yeah,
there's no like
that blew me
into
away.
The room like quick entrance, quick exit. It's
I
like,
did not think
he's like taking his time.
And that's why they hired that dude. That
like
that's
Luke Skywalker.
And they wouldn't have hired him if they weren't going to use him.
I really thought he wasn't going to be there. There'd be some excuse of like he's out doing X, Y, and Z. Then I thought, oh well, they'll have him, but for a couple of shots, they're not going to like do a lot with him. And then they gave him like all of the screen time with conversations and like things to do, including we'll get there, a lightsaber training montage.
Yeah, there's a training montage in this episode, which we got Jedi training in Book of Boba Fett. That's that's wild to me.
The sound design coming off his green lightsaber, it's just like, and he like did I swear
it's Yoda's lightsaber, guys.
We're not there yet.
Sorry.
Not there yet. Let's see. We're about 45 minutes into this, so we have we have an hour and 38 minutes until we can talk about Yoda's lightsaber.
Guys,
oh my gosh, it is in this though. That
it
again, is. Also, I did.
Sorry, that was the moment where I hope you guys thought of me in that moment.
Oh yeah.
I was like,
well, that whole thing, like the whole, the troopers, all this. I was like, oh, Grant is in.
There's so much going on. Yeah, there's. All right, so you're just talking about how sweet his moves are in that little bamboo.
Well, in the sound design on his lightsaber, it's like it's like takes me back to Return of the Jedi. It's a very distinct lightsaber ignition.
Yeah.
So. And I swear he was doing moves that were from Return of the Jedi, like some of his.
It did. It looked like his style. Like it looked like Luke. Like it looked like how Luke fights. And so we come back from the flashback, and then we cut back to Mando.
Yeah.
And then someone else just is in frame suddenly.
Yeah. Another just major character.
Yeah, just is there. So get Ahsoka. Yeah, we get Ahsoka.
When you guys were young, did you ever get Lucky Charms and pick the cereal out and just go at
all marshmallows?
Well, that's what this episode is.
It's all marshmallows.
It's
like was the Captain Crunch Oops All Berries? What was that cereal they did? Did you ever have one of those? Like, Oops All Berries. Yeah. This is the Oops All Berries of the Mandalorian series.
Yeah,
shouldn't be
there
true.
You go. Nothing but marshmallows for you.
Yeah, crazy just seeing her leaning up against the tree, hanging out. I'm an old friend of the family. I was like,
what?
That line slayed me.
Let's go. Wait, I thought she was like leaving to find Thrawn though. Like last time I saw her, she's like, no, pit stop, hanging out with Luke. Like
she's all over the place. She's got time.
It's up there.
Yeah.
This is also like
she's like involved. I bet she's curious about Grogu.
Yeah.
And once she found out
she knew Yoda, and I think everyone's like, "Oh, is this the next like beacon of light of like the Jedi?" This character, Luke will put a order together, but this character would theoretically carry the order through 1,000 years.
Yeah.
Right. Like this will be far beyond
That's a
when
good
Luke's
point.
gone. Yeah. Ooh, that's a really good point.
That's remarkable. This episode by Luke.
That's the through line through all of the next future of Star Wars. So the thing about this is that like last episode that we saw Ahsoka, she was very much Ahsoka, but she was on a mission, Ahsoka. So we got very serious, except for a couple scenes. This portrayal felt to me more like the Ahsoka we saw in a lot of the Clone Wars, of just kind of like not that like I'm so excited for the Ahsoka show because this just felt like that character, and Rosario slayed it.
Yeah.
She
She's
definitely
more like
felt thoughtful, but also
very
like
thoughtful.
sort of like very zen, like the representation of zen. Like her sabers are awesome. Like just seeing her outfit, her drip is
Her
like
drip,
next level.
another still drip. Yeah.
Like I don't know, like if I could be any Jedi, like Ahsoka Tano is like pretty sweet. Like she's
Pretty
got
sweet.
the get up.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, she's got definitely custom outfits. And like, can we talk about Luke's kimono? We like been talking about Luke and like Ahsoka, and like we're not even talking about like what they look like. They look insane. Like Luke is wearing, it's not just the Return of the Jedi, reverse collar thing that he's got. It's a black kimono, and
it is.
It's tucked beautifully, and it's like, what is this Luke? And then like, how does this Luke, being the learner of Yoda, someone as enlightened and wise as Yoda, like I don't know how this Luke ever steers wrong. It's kind of like, and if he does steers wrong, I don't know how it's not like self-sacrifice in some just like straightforward way, where it's like I've got to end myself. It's like he's so good, like he's just lawful good, and he's beautiful character. Beautiful characterization.
Can't judge anyone by their worst day, Grant. That's what I've always been told.
I just think Yoda would never do such a thing. And then when you see that Luke would, I don't know, I guess people slip the dark side. It happens, but I really feel like the Yoda through line was happening in this episode. I really feel like Yoda got through to Luke in a major way. Like that's almost like the breakthrough I thought was important about the original trilogy, and why the prequels almost like play to that in a big way, where it's like everyone was too busybodied to listen to Yoda, and then like it took a kid in a swamp to like actually gain the knowledge from this being, and then I thought he would carry that knowledge forward, and he did, and I think that knowledge is still
which I think is the part of it, right? Like you get rid of all the noise and the surrounding. Like you look at the prequels, they're surrounded by this pomp and circumstance, and there's just all these other things going on that it's hard. It's easy to lose the signal, right, of what's important about being a Jedi. And then you boil it down to when you get to Empire, like you said, it's a kid and a master in a swamp together.
Yeah,
and that's where the true learning happens, right?
In a very challenging location too, super challenging location. This location is a little more blissful. It's a little serene. I really love this planet. But Ahsoka's just chilling against a tree, hanging out, and she's saying, "Oh, this will be Luke's the first Jedi temple. Like Luke's, and this will be a Jedi temple, and here like Grogu will become Luke's first student, and like all this kind of stuff." And I was just like, is she really saying this right now? I was like, this is like what Ben talks about on our podcast regularly. And I was like, they can't be doing this. Like, clearly, you can't get the Luke and Grogu show, but sign me up. Like, if that happens, like, I'm there.
We're gonna get a different.
It's gonna be the first half of this episode, and they even did it better. They kind of flashed back and forth to this scene a couple times, which is fun. But
we spend a lot of time.
Yeah, a lot of time
before we flash back at all. Like,
so everything was shocking in this thing. Like how much time they spent with this. Like, the fact you got all these lessons in the Yoda flashbacks. It's brought into it and all these other places. It's I really think he's like trying to grow Grogu's power through this. Like as he's talking to him, he's trying to be like, you're super powerful. You're suppressing all of it. So like, how can I sort of hold your hand and take you through it? And he sort of coaxes him to like do things he knows. And then
you're trying too hard.
Yeah.
But this episode,
got that one too.
Simply do or something. Yeah. He says something. It's just, I don't know. He does the do or do. He's like, there's do or do not. There's no try. He just does that back to Grogu from Yoda, and I was like, oh, this is perfect. And it's just a lot of the teachings from Yoda going straight into Grogu, which is awesome, because then now we know Grogu will have these teachings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we have a fascinating like time frame issue similar to Empire, which I feel is like purposeful. But we get this whole training montage with a lot of wipes and a lot of like scene transitions, because we could do an entire season of Grogu getting his power back, but by minute 30 something this episode, he's jumping and flipping and doing his powers. Like he's like, when we see him again, we are going to see him again very soon, he is going to be a powerful Jedi. Like it's, or a non-Jedi, but we'll talk more about that in a bit. But he's
wait, we're going to talk about that at the end of this episode. That's our big
that'll be our
thing at the end here. Stay with us, because we are going to predict.
We're
hopefully, all
there.
Speculate on.
Ben will predict, and we'll all agree with Ben.
Yeah. Actually, Ben will.
If you know what's right for you, yes.
Ben will light some candles, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So there's the jump scene, the remote scene.
The spices are flowing.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like when they animated Grogu, it looked like Yoda. Like when he moved.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's definitely some callbacks. There's definitely a lot of Easter eggs in this too. By the way. Like, so many. It's like I was counting that. I was like, this is nonstop. And homages and beautiful things like connections, graphic matches.
Yeah, so I keep lapsing back and forth. There's a lot of great moments between Ahsoka and Mandalorian. Oh man.
Then we get to the whole like, well, let's dive into some like the deeper stuff here, which is like we get to the big conflict, which is I came all this way, like I just want to see him, and then he just wants to see. He's quick on his feet, he just wants to see the kid, and he's like, oh no, I have this armor for him, and it's his right. And I'm like, good thinking, man. Like,
but it's like it's kind of messed up. Nice. She's making him feel bad for just wanting to see the kid.
The Jedi.
Well, it is and it isn't. I think she asked a fair question. Is this for you or is this for him? Which is
that's a pretty heavy question. I mean, I get but it's doing it, but like look at guys.
That's like what is this?
I don't know. Like
we were pals.
I just feel like Ahsoka's kind of talking out of both sides of her mouth sometimes, where she's like, "Oh no, I do what I want, and I'm outside of everything," and blah blah blah. But like, she is,
no, she's like that though. She does get I thought it was perfect for her character, because she does lean into conversations. If you watch Clone Wars, like whatever the conversation is, she's leaning in, she's listening, and she's actually coming up with like the most thoughtful response usually. Like.
I know, but she's like,
Obi-Wan silently has the most thoughtful response, but he just kind of share it. And then Anakin's just brash. And it's like, she is a listener and she solves things and she's very empathetic. And like, that's the weird thing about Ahsoka is like, and like, I don't know, the whole episode kind of, I found to be a little like, just odd in terms of like the attachment, like how much it deals in attachment and how it's just continuing the classical dogma of the Jedi. And I was thinking about Luke and Ahsoka as characters, and I feel like Ahsoka was always the empath of like all the Jedi. She was the one who really connected with people and like tried to help anyone who was in need of help. Like that was the point of her character, really, like to be the real savior and to really look out.
She's like an idealist, like Jedi should help people, period, full stop.
Trying to help anyone.
But which is weird, where it's like she wasn't helping the Mandalorian there. You could have got, she really tried to keep it to give Luke a shot at training the kid. She was like,
but then that's cold and distant, and that's a little cold and distant. That's what we've seen other Jedi like Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, right? Like Obi-Wan in the beginning in Phantom Menace is like, why are you taking on this this other life form? Like why are we dealing with this kid on Tatooine? Like certain Jedi we've seen can be cold and shut down attachment and all that stuff. But Ahsoka to me always felt like someone who was actually like very much in touch with like I guess like the connection, the kind of animal magnetism
but that's why she was asking that question. Like to me, it didn't feel cold and distant. It felt like a really thoughtful question that she needed to ask the Mandalorian. Is it for him or is it for you? And I think that's a really valuable lesson or question to ask ourselves a lot. When we think we're doing something for someone else, I think it bears, if you can, to take a moment to ask, is it for that person or is it for you?
Yes, it's
Or is
It
it
is a
for,
very
or is it for,
important
or also
question.
another
It
option?
is.
Is it for both of us? Which is not
It is.
which is not an option she gave, which is also a valuable option, right? Like we could both benefit from it. And so it didn't. To me, I didn't read it that way. I just felt like it was a good question to ask. And if he thought and analyzed and said, "No, I think it's for him because X, Y, and Z," she would have said, "Then go see him." Right? Like that's. I think he just needed because. We know, like it's not about Grogu. He misses his buddy.
was
He
like-
misses his pal. Like
Right.
This
not,
was like
you know,
more
yeah.
stringent than the Jedi Order, though. Like in the waning days of like the divided Republic. Like this is like
Well, how is it stringent though? Because she didn't say
because
don't go
they're like
see
don't
him.
even go see him. Whereas like the Jedi Order definitely has like visiting days.
No, no,
I
no.
imagine.
Yeah.
She didn't say that though. She didn't say that. She asked him a question so he
Yeah.
could self-analyze himself, and he came up with the answer.
And it happened to be the one question that would keep him from going up that hill, which is a little manipulative. I'm just going to say.
Well, or is it manipulative, or is it the right, or is it the right? Because
Ben was like, I didn't.
No, no.
It can be both, Adam. You're right. It can be both. It
We're gonna
can't be the
skip-
correct
I gotta
thing
skip.
and the
I gotta
only
skip to
thing.
the end of this because what it ends with is it ends with Grogu's decision, which is whose decision it should be
No,
at the end.
It all went perfectly. I wouldn't have wanted it any other way.
It's as if it was a
just-
written
I'm just
thing of
saying,
TV.
I have no problem with Ahsoka's character. I just think it's funny that she does kind of. She's like, I don't get myself involved in anything, and then
Oh
immediately
yeah,
gets herself involved.
and then I'm in the middle of everything.
I mean,
Yeah.
there is a real there's something real to looking inwards and not relying on attachment to truly find balance and connection
Mhm.
to the natural world. I believe in that. Sure, that's great. I'm just saying, like, a visit isn't the end of the world. Like, it's more of just like it's a Padme and Anakin. It's a thing where it's like deep love and
Sure, how'd that turn
we
out?
want to live forever and we want to have power and we want to control the galaxy. That's and then if I lose her, I'll do whatever I have to do to, you know, like that's the attachment. That's like the visiting hours just seems like that's a little much for Luke, especially a guy who's like, I need my dad, even though he's like coated in armor and, you know, running around just
Right.
massacring people. Like I just to me, it's like I always think about that. And then taught by Yoda, I don't know how Luke would ever even hurt Kylo Ren. It just doesn't make sense to me. And this episode like illustrates that to me. I was like, oh,
It's 30 years in the future. A lot can happen in 30
I
years.
know. I had to fit that
Especially
in.
raising kids. these days, you know what I mean?
I don't
I
know.
just my stand. It's my stand is Yoda, Luke. I don't know how that happens, and then I don't know.
I mean, we
That's
could
all I'm
go
saying.
into
It's my
it
stand.
or
Final
not
stand.
because it still doesn't bother me because I think if Baby Yoda had visions of slaughtering tons of people, Luke would have been like,
You
no.
can have this one back.
We don't know. He
Uh,
might put on that chainmail
yeah.
and like wield a club.
Oh, I know, but we'll talk
Evil
about that at the
like,
end.
That's the infinities I want. I want like he gets the chainmail, he gets like a warhammer. He's like, forget the lightsaber.
I mean, anyway, we'll get to there at the end because anyway, we'll get there.
We'll get. Yeah.
And now
Well,
we're
I say-
now we're reminded. Now we get the okay. So yeah, so Ahsoka manipulates Din Djarin, according to you guys, and then he leaves. and
No, I don't.
goes-
She manipulates him.
Just
I
me,
think
just me,
she's
thank
right to make him ask the question. Be introspective.
No, she
this-
single-handedly saved
A
whatever
selfish
scrap.
indulgence, a selfish stimulation for himself. I agree.
She
That's
just
important.
like a
I'm just
therapist.
saying
She asked a thoughtful, probing question.
It's
Yes. She felt
it's
like a
ready to be
therapist.
dropped. He can almost lay it like down near them and step away. Like I think he just wants to make sure he's like he saw him from a distance. He's fine.
He knows he's fine. He knows he's good. He knows he's in good hands. Anyway, and then for some reason, the Mando decides, all right, well, I'm done here, so I'll go back to Tatooine where I was needed. Right. Also, let's stop there for a second as I just tried to move us forward, and then I'm completely derail us. Time frame stuff. So here's what I'm trying to figure out.
Mm. I've
Because
heard this.
because we have Luke talking to Grogu, mentioning things that you think he would have talked to Grogu about previously. Like, oh, by the way, you remind me of someone I saw
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
However, what I just realized is like this show, the Book of Boba Fett, might have actually started prior to the end of the last season of The Mandalorian, right? Because we say goodbye to him, or at the same time, because we say goodbye to
Yeah.
Boba when he drops off everyone at the space station. And how long has Boba been actually like on Tatooine, pulling his forces together? A couple of weeks, it feels like.
Right. maybe a couple months max.
At best. So Grogu's probably only been with Luke for a couple of the same time frame, only a little while in reality.
Yeah. Oh, that's a really good point. I thought the way I felt was like they were flashing back a bit, like they're just flashing back a little bit.
Oh,
so you
interesting.
get the full like sort of
Yeah.
because it's like where do you cut in, right? So they kind of give you the full training that he's received there, and then you magically catch up at just the right spot and everything's. It was like a flash sideways a little.
Yeah,
bit.
that makes sense because it feels like it's very early. Like they haven't.
They just
been
wanted
hanging
to
out
tell
all
that
long.
full story, so they did.
Yeah.
To me, it's like just throw Jedi training here, and then it's just like it jumbles up the whole timeline. People are like, "Whoa!"
Or again, if it's what would George do, and we're looking at Empire Strikes Back, George would not care about time frames
at all. Yeah,
who cares? They're little like serial snippets. They're fine.
Yeah.
That's what this felt like in a big way to me. It was like just little serialized vignettes, like these little beautiful little character beats, isolated
with major characters.
Yeah, with some of the most crowd pleasing characters in Star Wars. It was honestly, I wasn't ready for it. I'm still like overwhelmed. So the training montage, the remote. Did we do all the jumping and all that stuff? Like,
we're gone. We're off of this. We're off of this planet.
Yoda,
we're with the Mando
he gets to Yoda
Tatooine.
level jumping though. Like by the end of it,
it is.
Like we had prequel jumping like in this episode.
Yeah.
It's
He
back.
says it's-
You thought the prequels were gone. They're back.
Oh, I guess there's a couple things we should mention before we move on. It's less like training and more like remembering or something like that.
Also,
Luke
can we
said.
get that like heavy like smock like parka off Baby Yoda? Like he can't train.
I know he's like in a.
What is
he's
going
like in a
on?
sack.
I am like upset with.
You can't even
Does
see
Luke
his
and Ahsoka
feet.
know how to run this school? I'm worried. Like Yoda needs some slim fitting
athleisure. Totally. Yeah, he's still in a potato sack.
I know.
It's not
they're like,
not the most breathable, comfortable
I
material.
can't balance on a branch wearing something like that. Like, are you? No way.
It's always my excuse. It's the outfit I'm wearing. So the other thing that's interesting here, which is like there was a scene where the problem is I need to stop talking while I'm watching the show or mumbling to myself because there's a scene where Ahsoka and Luke are standing next to each other, and I'm like, "You were his father's apprentice."
Yeah.
What are you gonna like? I know you know each other, but come on. And then they finally give you that little nod of like, there's so much of your father in you, or you remind me of your father. I'm like,
yeah, you were
so much
like
like your father.
Yeah, like
I was like,
thank you. That's all I need.
I was like, cool. Which version of my dad? Just like
the cool version,
like chill one at the last second, or like.
Right.
Like early dad.
Yeah,
or,
that was the line before that is
tyrannical henchman dad.
Yeah, she says that in response to Luke saying, "Sometimes I wonder if his heart is in it." And again, Anakin used to say that to Snips, and be like, sometimes I wonder if your heart's in it. Your heart's got to be in it, and all that. So, I think that was the reference there.
No, there's a real beauty to her talking about Mando's love. Like this was a lot about Mando's love for the child in this episode, and for Grogu. And that was it. Ahsoka was the perfect character to talk about that bond. Now that I reflect on it, Adam. So I do agree. I think that was the perfect moment for perfect person to do that with Mando, because that's the audience, like surrogate. Like Ahsoka is basically us being like, how do you feel about Grogu? Because we love him.
Yeah.
Mando's like, I mean, I want to see him. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Mando's feelings about Grogu are hilarious, by the way. Like, honestly, I could rewatch it. I just can't read him. And then this episode is just really fun. I think Mando is a real highlight of this episode. Just like there's some real funny.
Yeah.
Like Mando's funny in this episode. I don't think Mando's like does anything. There's like no action with Mando. He's like basically just like
he's waiting on a bench
and dining people like the entire episode.
Yeah, true. Like that's the next scene.
Yeah,
the next
drinking,
scene.
Bourbon. Well, we're back on Tatooine finally. We see
Mando's
Boba Fett in this episode, right? That's what's next, right?
But Mando left the armor. We should say that he left the chainmail pouch.
He did, yes.
Yeah. That we know was chainmail. I mean, we saw it being built. So.
Yeah. Apparently, we're not supposed to know that, but
I think we all
we kind of saw it in the last episode.
Yeah.
Yes. It was right there.
Yeah.
So right. So he goes to the meeting. The meeting actually nothing really crazy goes on, right?
That was
Yeah. Then
That
it
was
was
a
just like
Star Wars
moving
meeting.
forward. They're like, "Hi, this is Mando. He's cool. We need foot soldiers."
Oh, our extra muscle is here. This is Mandalorian.
I mean-
we now have enough
Yeah.
enforcers. He's like, we have Chris Santan and
Well,
Mando.
and
like,
Mando.
stop
We're good.
naming people. And I was just like, oh
Yeah.
no, that's it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, all right.
I'm like, we have 2 people.
going
I'm like,
in,
no,
we
you
got
need
two-
more.
two
You
pretty-
need more muscle.
Yeah, I mean, we also you also get Boba on a Rancor. I'm actually with the pace that they're going through this show. I'm really surprised. I don't think there's enough time to do it, but of course, maybe I'm wrong. There's going to be like a 5-minute Boba Fett training on a Rancor scene, or he's just going to show up on a Rancor. But I feel like this show would be like they're going to take 5 minutes and have him train to ride a Rancor and like go through the travails of that.
You might be right. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, you are right because you're Ben, and you're always right about Book of
I
Boba
know.
Fett. So
you guys,
the
I'm
thing-
listening.
What have you
closely.
learned?
Yeah. So, but here's the thing: is like I wonder because we talked about the fact that there's only 7 episodes this season. I wonder if next episode, because these are lengthy episodes, it's like, oh, it's actually a double episode. It's an hour and a half long. Like, part of me is wondering if we're gonna get like a mini movie at the end of this thing because they are not worried about skimping on length.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Boba and the Rancor get upper hand, but Cad Bane. I mean, we'll get there. We're gonna get there. Yeah, every time. Guys.
We'll get there.
Every
We'll get
time.
there.
We're gonna get there
on the-
pretty quickly. In
on
fact,
the
like
edge of the
Right,
next.
because
story.
now we go. Now Mando looks for muscle, so he goes to go see Cobb Vanth. Right?
Yep.
That's what's
So good.
next, right? So I mean, this is pretty much. We
You're a
can't talk
Parker
about
Star
Timothy
Park, you gotta
Oliphant
park at the,
anymore
like,
because he's
landing
in it.
strip.
Right?
Some guys like telling him to go park in the flats. I was like,
yeah. So can we talk about
Landon.
Scott,
Deputy Scott.
Deputy Scott, or Deputy Dipspit, as I will say?
Yeah.
That's not what I said, but that does not involve Ben having to blank anything
yes.
out.
Yeah, played by J.J. Dashnaw.
Oh, cool. Is he the worst or what?
yeah, yeah.
Is he the worst
I
character
mean-
in Star Wars of all time?
He takes the
Yeah.
cake. He's
Yeah.
the absolute worst, and
Ugh.
it's like it's hard. It's a bit in this episode.
Yeah.
Like, over and over, this character is sort of this like real it's kind of like authoritarian
Part C
fascist
deputy.
like deputy in training who just wants like
He's your local police officer.
yeah, but he's
Sorry.
really like he's really pushing his limits and like pushing his power.
Yeah.
Exactly. He's that kid from high school that had no friends and became a
Yeah,
police
It's not wrong. It's so weird because they introduce him and they give him like a long shot when they introduce him. To the point where I'm like, is this a cameo? Am I supposed to know this actor? Am I supposed to know this character? It's like
well,
like,
it's classic
they did it long
Kurosawa
enough.
because it's like a
Yeah.
fool appears, and
Exactly.
it's like a wild
Yeah.
fool has appeared, and it's like that's Kurosawa to me in a lot of
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's so
just
funny
happened.
because I was sitting there like trying at the beginning, like minute 1 of this episode, trying to dissect like, oh, am I? Because we missed the Cammy and Fixer thing, and I'm like, what classic random Star Wars character am I
Me too.
missing now?
Yeah.
I'm like, no, it's just
I
Scott.
didn't think it was funny. He was like wearing Boba Fett's like jumpsuit. Like he shops at the same store as Boba
Oh,
Fett.
and like Cobb Vanth's bandana, like he was
Yeah.
just aping styles.
God, what a poser! I never liked the old Scott.
Yeah. I feel like Muspelgo's like, and then guys, we see a sandcrawler on the way in here. With
Oh,
the-
right, let's
the
not
Great
skip
Dragon
over that.
skull on top, and Jawa's just like cheering. That was
When they see
standard.
Mando, they're like, "Oh yeah, that thing's flying." It was
Yeah.
like his buddies that sold him the Tiberius Venturi.
vaporizing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, like, do you
That's
feel like
right.
there's going to be like this legend of the Mandalorian told by the Jawas? Because like, I wonder if it's actually some of the off-world Jawas. You're like,
Right.
oh yeah, they brought me the
I mean, that puts more.
Suka.
Yeah.
What was it called? The egg?
Yeah, Suka. I think that's it.
Yeah.
That adds to the possibility that he will be the Mandalore, just given that he has these accolades, like taking down Great Dragon, taking down Mudhorn. Like I don't see other people doing the kind of things that
All right.
Monster. Hunter.
So Mando's gonna watch Boba Fett try to ride a Rancor, and he's gonna use that knowledge to ride a Mythosaur.
All right. Yeah, you're right, Ben, because you're Ben, and you're always right.
Okay, I thought you were gonna say Mando was gonna be able to tame the Rancor or something. I was like, oh, okay.
No, I know
No.
you like. Well,
I do think
maybe that's
Boba's
it.
gonna tame the Darksaber, though. I really do think Boba and the Darksaber.
They're gonna trade.
I,
Or
it's a
you can only
big-
have one.
That's my big speculation point right now. Is Boba kills Cad Bane or kills someone with the dark saber at the end of this.
You're already.
If you haven't watched the episode at this point,
I mean, yeah,
I don't even know why you would.
No, you know
listen to this show. Like, clearly, we're going to talk.
Right. We're gonna see Cad Bane.
Little tidbit, and there's so many characters in the show. Obviously, we've talked about Ahsoka Tano already, and Luke Skywalker. I don't think it's any other big names that stand up to those. Yeah, I really do feel like Boba Fett might use that darksaber at some point.
All right, you can only pick one.
That's
can
my
have
one.
the darksaber, or you can have a pet Rancor. Which do you choose? Adam, go first.
I weirdly feel Rancor because I feel like I'm actually more likely to injure myself with the darksaber.
You're less likely riding a Rancor. I love that answer.
Yeah.
Grant, what do you say?
I'm gonna go darksaber. I love Rancors. They're loving creatures, I'm told. But I don't know, like not very applicable to my daily life, like just riding a Rancor around.
Wait, but why is a darksaber applicable to your daily life? What are you doing with your
Are you
daily
kidding me? I could cut wood today right now. I could just I forget axes. Like, I don't know. The darksaber, like it's pretty sweet. You can hang it on the wall, like it's small, compact, you can keep it in your house, I don't know.
That's true. It is very
transportable. That's a really good good point, Grant. I picked Rancor.
All right, well, I'll be the one who picks the darksaber. It doesn't have which I feel like the Rancor is like the odd option, given it could just kill you one day. Like,
but if it was your pet Rancor,
I know. What if you slipped in some meat juice though, and it just mistook you for?
Also, great. What is going on with your daily life? You think the darksaber will be applicable? Yeah. And
wait,
we were talking about
coming
after,
on meat Mandalorians juice. Landing in my lawn after I get it? Is it?
Oh yeah,
people challenging me to duels
all the time. All the time.
That would be a great ad.
Post office.
That would be a great commercial. Just someone
maybe that's season 2.
Some guy's just dude, I just want to make a cup of coffee, and then nope, Amando's here to challenge you for the saber.
Oh, that's season 2 right there. It'll be great. It'll start being funnier as the season goes on. All right, so we've got that, and
so we're still with Scott.
Oh, we're still with Scott. Yeah, so Scott gets excused, Oliphant, and then we get more peak Oliphant in the bar in Freetown. Sorry, not Mouse.
Yeah, that's right, in Freetown, and just the discussion between him and Dim Djarin is just great. I just want to watch them have a conversation for 45 minutes.
Good.
Yeah, it's some guy in a helmet. He's like, that's why you get your way so much. It must be that great smile of yours.
It's such a great line. Yeah,
so good. And the weak way bartender is the perfect comic relief. In that scene, the whole scene, I really like the energy around Cobb Vanth. Can we talk about Vanth energy right now? Hashtag Vanth energy. That should be an energy drink. We'll
add that to our t-shirt
as the logo. That energy of that scene was great. It felt like Han back in Chalmers, in A New Hope. It felt like classic Star Wars in a really fun way, which is that it wasn't so foreboding or trying to move a plot forward. That's what I like about this episode is it breathes and it's not trying to push plot. I mean, just and shovel it in. It's really just just taking in the air and you're getting sit at this. And Oliphant has a lot of moments where he's not talking. It's a lot of just facial expressions, and he's killing it in this episode. There's a lot of nonverbal stuff that Cobb Vanth does that I don't think I've seen since Adam Driver. It's really powerful facial expression work.
I think
Morrison's doing great.
Yeah. I think he did it every episode in Deadwood and every episode in Justified. He's just super natural.
But this episode where he gets mad
breathing for him,
Deputy Scott and stuff, just some of the end. I don't know,
let's go there.
Later part of it. Yeah. So anyway, Mando's trying to recruit him, and then
he plays coy, but Vanth wants in.
Vanth is a little coy and reluctant to join, and then at the meeting, but
then later, he's taking it dead serious.
Best part is the weak way goes, that's a city folk fight. That's a city folk problem. I was like, all right, that's great. That's cool.
That's great. That's our one real world reference we needed. Great, thanks.
Yeah, I know. I know. We're talking about this like one isolation.
You're like, oh wow, that's extremely short-sighted,
Mm-hmm.
But
and you'll find that out shortly.
that fight for city folk. But,
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy's great. That guy's actually stand out. Like I'm excited to see that character.
Yeah, he was.
Although I am like
bartender in Red Deadwood.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, so then Mando leaves. Vanth is like, gather all the men and women of fighting age. I want to have a meeting.
Yeah, he's gathering a posse.
And then we get the most beginning of the most Western scene ever in any Star Wars, because Cobb Vanth is just outside, just minding his own business as Marshall. He feels a wind blow through wind chimes.
Through awesome wind chimes.
And senses that something is coming.
Like, okay, classic Western trope.
But nothing happens, and yet he knows to turn and look in the right direction.
But there's great beat. Yeah, so then he looks out to the desert.
It was amazing.
The dark silhouette, the figure approaching, in the distance. And he does this great blocking of just Vanth, kind of like classic kind of sheriff motif of him kind of leaning against a railing, walking down the steps, walking past, one of his the town's citizens, and he's like, "Why don't you tell everyone to go inside for a spell?" And it's just like
very calmly, very much just like just go for a spell. For a spell, he says, "Go inside for a spell."
Also, it just crushes this. Like, have you ever seen someone crush this hard in like a Western themed?
Only Timothy Oliphant.
I know. Only Timothy Oliphant in everything he's ever done.
In another galaxy. Like, it's not even American.
Once upon a time in the West.
By the way, do you remember he was the evil hacker in Die Hard, Live Free or Die Hard? I remember that. Moving on.
His filmography is fast.
It's
there's a lot of variance.
All right. So then we see our guy, right? Here he is.
And we get do they draw this out? He is like, he is the size of a grain of rice on the screen when we first see him.
But like classic Star Wars style, like the silhouette's enough, right? And I was just like, oh my gosh, they did it.
And then from the desert, a stranger comes.
Yeah, and this is your victory lap, right, Grant? Because you both might have called Cobb Vanth being the one.
No, I didn't call Cobb Vanth. I just said, even
I'm sorry, Cad Bane.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of assumed
I get those two mixed up all the time.
Was going to show up in this season.
Yeah, I always thought. I think we watched. I think after a few of our episodes of Mando season 1, very early on, I was like, wow, this show has the DNA for gunslinging Western standoffs, and who better than Cad Bane? And I think we'd been talking about that for I think a lot of people, obviously he's the Western.
Oh, yeah. It's not a reach.
Lee Van Cleef sort of character for Star Wars. And so.
Well, I'll say this about him.
Yeah.
I think he is what people thought Boba Fett was.
Oh, but I think this reinstated exactly who Boba Fett is, and I hope this leads to a really interesting conflict where Boba Fett's left to be a lone wolf in some way. Like, I'm still hoping. Yeah.
I mean, we'll get there. Really, but we set it up a bit at the end of this episode.
In some crazy way, but I know maybe he wants to hang out and rule over a territory, but
I don't think we're gonna see much of that in season 2 if there's a season 2. He's ought to be something else.
But so and then obviously you can just tell right from the chin it's Cad Bane walking, and beautiful shot of just Oliphant Cobb Vanth walking out to the center of the road just to face him down. That was really cool. And again, just visually, they reduced the 10-gallon hat, the 12. It was like a 12. It was like a 15-gallon. Now it's
that's a 12.
10 gallons.
It's a solid 10.
It's lost a few gallons.
Got rid of the toothpick, which to me was the thing that I think here's
I could have done more toothpick and more sand and more wind. Like, I could have done a lot. You really dramatize that.
You got to take it down a notch. You got to take it down a notch for live action.
I would have been like, wait, there's a sandstorm coming, get inside, and then who comes?
I have to say,
the stranger. But
let me say it. So
because there's kind of like entrance and there's a lot of actors entering and exiting. And it just feels like, they're just gone now because they've exited. And
that's what I gotta say is I love his exit, and we'll talk about why he exits the way he does in a moment. That he just walks away, and there's no sandstorm. So as long as we saw him walking into scene, I love the fact that he's just walking that confidently out of scene.
Oh,
and
yeah.
no one's gonna bother him because who's gonna mess with him? Like he doesn't need a sandstorm.
Right.
He's just like, I could walk 5 miles in bright sunlight and no one's gonna mess with me. But
That's true.
we've talked about it. I've talked about it a lot.
It's a
Cad
strong
Bane
point.
is not my favorite character in Star Wars. He is quite solidly bottom tier for me, for whatever reason. I absolutely loved what they did with him in this episode.
Yeah.
And it's like, it makes me want to go back and rewatch every episode he's been in. Like, this is, I was dreading, might be an overstatement, but I was not psyched about the fact that I thought for sure they were going to have a Cad Bane versus Boba Fett showdown in this series. I was not looking forward to that. And now I want nothing more than that.
I love this episode because he makes a direct reference to a screenwriting trope, or like a screenwriting kind of tutelage note, which is, dialogue being on the nose. And in this scene, there's this almost meta moment where he's like, I'd be careful not to stick your nose where it doesn't belong. And he himself does not have a nose.
Yep.
It has irony. It's on the nose. He doesn't have a nose. It's like hitting on so many different layers of like what kind of like breaks immersion in a story. And it's like, it's actually just like a beautiful, I think, tribute to the kind of learning process in screenwriting. And I hope that's why that's there, because it's really funny. And it was.
Yeah,
and
it was sweet. I was also, Adam, like rooting against having Cad Bane in here, just because they, Filoni's played the card a lot. We just saw him in Bad Batch as well. He's 72 years old in Galaxy, which is fine if Duros, age older. And they did age him up in this. But I'm like, that could have been a lot of different things, and he decided to. I mean, I get it; it makes sense. Like, it's worth it for that like classic shot that they did with Cobb and Cad Bane, and I think they nailed Cad Bane. Like, he was terrifying. It was a perfect like live rendering of him. Like, it was, I don't know. I was like, oh, Cad Bane, and then I was instantly in the scene.
Oh, I loved it. I was like in love with this villain. I thought this villain was, this is what the show needed. The show needed an intimidating, threatening villain to create pressure, to add tension to Boba's, dealings. And I feel like this is the character to do it. I can't wait to see what this character does in the final episode.
Yep.
We'll make some predictions at the very end here, but like just some of the lines that he said, like he's like, whatever Fett is paying you will match. A lot of this feels like a D&D campaign too. I don't want to I've been saying this throughout our entire time talking about Mando and Boba, but like a lot of this feels like Dungeon Masters, like just trying to entice the players in a lot of ways. But he's like, whatever Fett's paying you will match to Cobb Vanth.
As long as the spice keeps running, you'll be left alone.
That was really my favorite. Oh yeah, and that's the last line, I think, right? That is the real button of the scene. But should we talk about the standoff itself? Like,
I mean, this is a classic quick draw, and they again, the difference between Mando and we'll talk about Deputy Scott in a minute. But it's just like I love how much the Book of Boba Fett will just linger. They will take their time. Like the pacing on this, and what's great about it too is like there was no doubt in my mind how this standoff was going to end, because you don't introduce Cad Bane. No,
guys, I don't know if you guys know.
That's the other thing with Bane is you're just like how it's going to end. So there's no drama. It's like no one beats Bane. No. Though I was rooting for Oliphant with all my might. There, I was rooting for Bane.
He'll be back.
Marshall's not for sale. That's all I had to get out.
Marshall's not for sale.
I mean, and that's the thing is like, why couldn't we have give Deputy Scott that voice? Because like I would have liked him better if he was actively doubled down and being bumbling, but he's just so cocky. And like again, this illustrates why Cobb Vanth is too good for Tatooine, because he gets shot because he's worried about his deputy instead of focusing on the
killer in front of him.
Yeah. But he wants to make sure his guy's alive, which backfires
You should have kept
stupendously,
your armor.
as my new favorite background will show.
Oh, it's just that's a
Nice.
great.
Oh yeah,
background.
there he is. But boom.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
it's
he gets lit
Deputy
up.
Scott
He
getting
actually gets. He takes like
smoked.
4 to the chest. By the
Yeah,
way.
yeah. Yo, did you
Sad.
notice afterwards when the people run out of the buildings?
No one runs.
No one runs
No
to
one
Scott.
runs to Scott.
Everyone, they're like, that guy is dead.
I also, my favorite thing is on Wikipedia. It's not his his title is not under like Deputy Scott. It's just Scott. So if you go to like StarWarsFandom.com/wiki/Scott, it brings you to
Scott.
this.
That's hilarious.
But there's a lot of like, so again, subtitles on after Cobb Vanth gets shot once. There's so people running, and all of the dialogue underneath is like just, oh my god, what happened to the deputy? Da, 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 or what happened to the marshal? One person says something's wrong with the marshal. Is my favorite like underline. I'm like, yeah,
It's amazing.
he got shot. Like we know what's wrong with him.
Yeah, and he's just having.
Did
a
he
little
die?
laydown.
Because like the shot like hit his shoulder.
Confirmed.
Yeah.
I think he's gonna be fine.
No,
He's gonna be
I
just
think
fine.
Bane intentionally winged him because he needs order in that town.
Mm.
And then,
Yeah.
but he was just like, to let him know how serious he was, he put 4 in the deputy.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Oh
He
yeah.
also between scenes moves positions. Where he's on his side and he's on his back later on.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's just bad continuity or suggesting that he's kind of
Yeah,
still alive /
he's still
writhing.
alive.
He's
Yeah,
still
I don't think you.
They
kill
would have
off
done a
Timothy
bigger
Oliphant.
thing if he was
Yeah.
dead, you know.
Yeah, he's probably alive. All right, and then Cad Bane walks back. As long as the spice keeps flowing, everyone in this town will be left alone. Like that's what he kind of says at the end there. So and pieces out. The wind kicks up his duster. It looks awesome as
Yeah.
he kind of like walks back out of the desert.
He looks so awesome. He sounds perfect.
Yeah.
Just like the fact that they had the, I don't know, tenacity or like the, I don't know, the courage to like go like full tight on a creature. of
Alien,
space
yeah. This is
in
what
the
we
broad
wanted for a
daylight.
long time. We've been
For
talking about
a
this since the inception
TV
of the
show.
podcast. Like, where are the aliens? And where are the alien like leads? Like,
Right.
Let's go.
Because it's hard to do that with an alien face to be like, okay, this looks good enough that we can take this tight shot of their face and it's not going to look completely,
Yeah.
like a foam suit or whatever.
The eyebrow muscles, like everything looks so
Yeah.
good. Like he can gesture in so many different ways. He just sneers. And
He just
like,
sneers.
sharp
He has
teeth.
resting sneer face.
Yeah. Yeah, it's perfect, honestly, because it's the animated series. It was just he was just a little bit more kind of like, bumbling. I would say like what Adam, like it's just like he just
He
felt
was
a little
more of a
bit more like
caricature. He was very
he was a
caricature-like
caricature
to
of
me.
a Western.
Yeah.
He was like the good, the bad, and the ugly all together, basically. It was like all three. And
No,
in
it's
this,
very
he's
true.
like just the bad, and it's great. Like it's perfect.
But watching the standoff with Cobb Vanth, it just felt right. Like it just everything felt in universe. It fit. It didn't feel weird. It felt Star Wars.
All right. It was amazing. Let's go down. So then we flash to Garza's bar for a second, which is
right.
piled aside. And we get we get our two
There's probably
bombers there,
so
or
many
it's-
Easter eggs in that scene. Like I was like, do I pause this?
Well,
and, like,
so the
look through this
important-
cantina, like there's a lot going on here.
the important thing is Max Rebo wasn't playing that night.
Right. He
Yeah,
once
yeah.
again
That's
escapes death.
There were
Yeah.
some musicians
Once again.
playing their hearts out. I felt bad.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
they will be
drummer
remembered.
Droid is pretty solid, and then
A Jizz Whaler was present, I think.
Yeah.
There was a Bith Jizz Whaler
Yeah, who was laying it down,
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
And then
playing that smooth jizz.
Wailing. Yeah,
I know, and also I think it's funny that this bar has two scantily clad helmet polishers.
yeah. Again, like
All right.
they're always here. They're always
They're
working.
just polishing helmets
Yeah.
all over the bar.
That's all they do. They're just paid to polish helmets.
That's what they do.
Going around
Just wearing
offering
nothing,
helmet polishes.
looking hot and polishing helmets.
Mm-hmm. While
I
jizz
mean,
music is playing in the background.
Boba refuses the helmet polish.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know.
initially.
Some people are just not into it.
That made me laugh out loud both times I watched this episode. I was like, the helmet polishers.
I mean, anyway, so yeah, that's something that like I wasn't really questioning until now, right this moment. I kind of just took it as
They're- They
Cleaning
played
of
that
helmets.
card like 5 times
Yeah.
until people realized that's their
I
own
know.
job.
It really wasn't until this watching. I'm like, oh. Now I get it.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Okay.
And then everyone
That's my only
dies.
note for that scene, actually.
I think we need to come back. I think we need to take a break. Honestly, we need to
Yeah, I don't know how to recover from that one.
Who are we doing ads for this month?
And then there's a giant explosion. Wait,
know,
that
someone
that
can't
sounds
do-
bad too.
Yeah.
A
I
lot of
feel
helmet
bad, man, for
polishing,
that
things
bar.
exploding.
Yeah.
Anyways,
actress
Garza
is
Thwip's
great.
sanctuary gets bombed by the Pikes.
Yeah.
I had to give you some. Clean
Jennifer
fight.
Beals down. It's a bummer.
But yeah, that was gruesome, and like I loved Garza Thwip. I thought she was such a great character. Jennifer Beals is like such a fantastic actress. Like the whole Chrysanthemum monologue was like superb. I thought like just one of the best bits of acting in the show so far was her scene.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Also, we shall
It's also
see.
like Flashdance.
No one's didn't die on screen. We will see. But I think it's interesting. You have 2 scenes in a row where the deputy is murdered and the marshal's wounded, which is going to rally the troops on their end, right? And then you have this scene, which is you're bombing something that's very important to the community. So it's just like the Pikes are creating the force that are going to fight them. Right, by doing this stuff, it feels like they're just going to rally the troops on the other side. It's really interesting. They're kind of setting up their own demise.
Yeah,
Indeed. I mean, it does seem like he's got Boba on the ropes. We've only got one more episode yet and left, but I feel like let's do this last.
that
scene
Wrangler
after.
is coming out to play.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like his back's kind of the wall here. I know that they only showed a few of those Pikes, but it'd be weird if their squad just ripped through the Pikes and he's victorious at the end,
You're underestimating Boba's like bloodlust, dude. Once he gets going in a fight, like
he's gonna lose it.
Unstoppable.
I mean, don't forget the last
They
time
made Boba like not only was he
right. We haven't had the Boba
bounty
moment.
hunter, he's now like honed warrior now. He's now like melee brawler. Like he's a different Boba Fett than what we all thought,
Yeah, and we haven't had full like metal Boba Fett, right?
No.
We've talked about this before. Like they've been playing it up for a time where he's got the helmet on, he's using the jetpack, flamethrower, knee missiles, and he's like taking the field.
No, we're gonna see like what we saw with Django in episode 2. Like,
this goes back to the fan-made video that Rod Rodriguez made to kind of not pitch, but I think he was just like, hey, my sons and I did this for fun, but we had a great time doing it, which was like a Boba fight scene. And I was like, what does that look like with, like $20 million behind it, like just the fight scene itself, if this is like 10 an episode or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, what does that look like for just actually it's probably a lot of post work given it's going to be.
I know. I'd love to see that demo film he showed them in full. They show some cuts of it.
It's on YouTube. It's like on YouTube.
Oh, is it the full thing?
Yeah, it's on like some news interview where he like went on the news and he was like, "Here's the thing I like made with my kids." Like,
it was the whole thing
for fun. Cool. Yeah, it's like he used action figures. It's really cool.
Yeah, they show some of it in that Disney, behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So I imagine that's that to motion picture scale where it's like he's got every tool he needs and it's going to be just spectacular fight scene and just his passion is there for that choreography and spending the time to make sure Boba is just like clotheslining people and just like body dropping people and like
I just see him fire his EE3 because I want to hear it. Like,
I know there's like Pavlovian like things I need from Boba Fett. Like I need him to talk with the helmet on. I need like all the gadgets to be used. Like definitely the rocket pack, like the actual rocket.
He's at least carrying the EE3, but we haven't seen him fire it yet, and it's bothering me now. No, that's his weapon of choice. That's his main.
We
got
Cad Bane in the mix. I'm hoping there's like a longer shootout. I'm hoping it's we got the quick draw. I thought the quick draw was going to be with Boba and Cad. That was the thing I I was like, I think Filoni's going to do the
Yeah.
thing that he sketched way back then, animatic, and like just do it live action because it would be awesome. But now that we did the quick draw, I'm thinking this is going to be more of like all out shootout with Cad.
Yeah, I think so
Matrix
too.
level,
Yeah.
like just awesome.
Does
you know,
Cad Bane
rough-
finally die in the next
Republican-
episode?
Yes, I think so. I think we're gonna see his swan song.
Because that would solidify Boba Fett's place as the baddest bounty hunter of all time.
The other thing is, we have a lot of muscle on Boba Fett's side. Black
We
Santan.
kind of do, yeah. Like any of them.
We have one
Yeah.
so far on the Syndicate side, which is Cad Bane. So
Yeah.
I also think we're going to see more muscle on the
muscle.
opposite side next episode.
That would make me super happy because like that was my one thing. I was like,
Yeah.
did it have to be Cad Bane? Like, could it have been Dirge? Could it have been Boss? Could it have been a new character, like some new muscle that they're creating? Because like I now have complete faith in Filoni and Favreau to create new characters because I'm in love with a bunch of them now that they've made. So I have no doubt they could make a menacing a menacing bad force. I mean, they made Moff Gideon, which he was very foreboding, but they could do a really tough antagonist. I think, like, I trust them to do that. But they decided to call back Bane, which is cool. So maybe we'll get a couple more. Be nice to get a Dengar cameo. Like maybe this is where we get the guys, or maybe it's not this season. I don't know.
I almost feel like Cad Bane doesn't need anyone. Like I almost feel like that
Could
was
be
the
like
point
that.
made in a lot of ways, or it was like.
I mean, I would
Force
agree with that,
alone.
unless the three people you're talking about are Boba Fett, Din Djarin, and Black Chrysanthemum.
Yeah, honestly,
like-
I would take Black Chrysanthemum. I think Chrysanthemum
Yeah.
can take a 1v1.
So you do
if you
Bosk
give him a
versus
bowcaster or
Chrysanthemum,
something.
You do Bosk versus Chrysanthemum. You would do Cad Bane versus Boba Fett. And
Oh, I see
fights
what you mean.
Mando. Who fights Mando and who fights Fennec?
What would be poetic for Mandalorian?
Is
for
it an
Din
even
Djarin?
matchup,
Or
or
a
is it just
droid? It would be
might?
IG-11 would be with the one
Oh,
that fought Mando.
yeah, or IG88.
IG-88, sorry.
Yeah. No, that's a really
Because he's
interesting.
afraid of droids,
And it would
because
throw him
looks
off.
like IG-11.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Good call. And Ben
Oh,
is 100% right because he's Ben.
That's
Yeah,
right.
that's a really good call.
All right, but
Four
Fennec
Alarm and
talk about-
Zuckuss, aren't they droids or like? Is it one of them?
Forlama is a droid. Zuckuss is a nut. Is a Gran?
is a Grant.
No,
no,
like
not a
Grants are
Grand,
Grants
not
are
a
the
Grand.
three-eyed things.
Oh, right. He's a something with a G. Anyway, yeah.
Gand.
Gan.
Gan.
There you go.
Thank
Well
you.
done.
Perfect. Wow, that was a pull.
Have you guys been
went to,
playing
the
Wordle
Jedi
lately?
archives. For that.
yeah.
Wild.
Um,
All right, so
you, went
I
deep. you ran by Jocasta News desk. You're like, I know where this is.
I think we're okay. We've been putting it off.
Here we go.
Last scene.
Last
Back
scene.
to Grogu and Luke in the fully
Oh,
built temple.
Guys, this is. I hope you guys had me in your heart at this point, where I was like, when I saw that lightsaber,
Yeah.
Luke
Oh.
Skywalker lays out a lightsaber and then unravels the chainmail. We finally see the chainmail. It's really cute. It's Grogu-sized chainmail.
Also,
It's
what's
way
hap-
better than that oversized smock he's wearing. Like he needs to take
Yeah.
that parka off and put on.
What happened to the rest of the Beskar?
Yeah, that was just the tip.
Yeah, they just gave him the tip. He
Just
just
tip.
gave the tip.
It's a little tip.
That's it.
Just.
I just
so
love that this
neat,
scene was like very. All I could think of was to be fair. All I could think of was Fourth Chamber by Jizza.
Nice.
The quote. It's like
Yeah.
he's like, you can take the sword and join me, or you can choose the ball and join your mother in
Yeah,
death.
yeah. That's like.
Which is
the
from
liquid swords, that's
the
like-
19. It's from Shogun Assassin, a 1980
Oh,
film,
nice,
and
okay.
it was but Jizza Liquid Swords. That
Yeah.
was the sample,
Mhm.
which isn't very sophisticated, but it was a hip hop reference. That
Yeah.
Yeah. But so that
for it.
saber, I saw it and I just noticed that the hilt was just a little stubby, short hilt.
Yeah. Well, so I was looking because you
And
guys said I was
like,
right the whole
is
episode.
that
So I was like,
what I think it is.
I thought he had built Grogu a lightsaber with that ball, and I was like waiting for that. But then I was like, oh no, that is definitely.
giving-
And then he's like, this is Yoda's lightsaber, and I was
Yeah.
like,
It's a light-
my heart fell out of my chest.
that basically makes that makes him Baby Yoda. That makes him the next is filling his shoes.
I mean, it is like one of you said it, and it made me think about it. I got lost and thought about it, but like Luke could have been, or the one person that would be this like inflection point. If like these
Yes.
the
Yeah.
Yoda characters,
He could
are, like,
rewrite
one
the
at a
order. He
time.
could rewrite the rules of the order
Yeah.
in a major way based on his defying of Yoda and Obi-Wan to reach out to his own very close attachment, his father, and just try to,
Yeah.
tug him back to the light. And that's honestly, guys, I wouldn't be surprised if Anakin saved Grogu, because if that could be the little sliver of goodness that was like secretly there, we only think of him like slaughtering Jedi in that moment. Like, what if there's one moment where you saw that sliver of light? That's what connects to Luke. It's all like this deep, deep, deep poetry that all connects. So
Cool.
I don't know.
I just think it would have been cool for like Luke Skywalker, this little human life, to like take all the knowledge from one of the Yoda beings and be responsible for transferring it to another Yoda being that will then teach that knowledge from Luke Skywalker
900
for
years.
900 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's
Plus whatever else it learns. Yeah.
I think that's the key. I think that's what we're going for in now that we're moving past the Skywalker saga, right? How do we continue the learning and teachings of the Jedi? And it's within this new Yoda, basically.
All right. Well, let's get down to that like $25,000 question. Who thinks he takes the lightsaber? Anybody?
No. Not yet. At
I
least.
mean, how could he take the lightsaber given he just does not show up? He does not show face.
Okay, so why does he take
pivotal
the chainmail?
junctions
Okay,
in like galactic history?
Let me give you the really boring reason, and then we'll go into the more interesting.
No, I
reason.
know why he wouldn't, because you could make a reason for why he wouldn't easily. You could easily make it's so easy to make a reason for why he wouldn't.
So much more boring than that.
No, because he wasn't invented then. I get it.
No,
it's just I don't know. What is it?
So this is like outside of world reasons. This is this is how you develop script reasons. Like, this is why he's gonna choose.
This is my forte.
This is so because unless you're going to in the next episode pick up immediately after this to be like, this is his decision, we're gonna have to learn of his decision later in some other thing, right? And you have two options. The one is that he picks the lightsaber, in which case we're not going to see him for a while. Yeah. Because he's not going to show up in any other show.
Yeah. Because he's following the path.
Which, by the way, that's bad storytelling, because then you're just like, where's Grogu? Oh, I guess he picked the lightsaber. Or he picks the Mandalorian armor, and the next time we see him is when he shows up at the Mandalorian, right? So like that's why he has to pick the Mandalorian armor for storytelling purposes, which I know is the most
they could show
boring.
on screen him taking the lightsaber.
I'm like, give them both. I'm screaming on my couch. I'm like,
I mean, he's gonna get
give him both. Yeah. Luke's gonna be like,
both.
oh, take the lightsaber anyways. Yo, so this is my theory on that. I mean, it's obvious he's gonna take the. I mean, everything points towards him taking the. I mean, it's called the Mandalorian. He's a little Mandalorian. He's going to take the chainmail, right? But
I'm not going to doubt Ben ever again.
Nope, never. Go for it, Jen.
No, but it's so boring. But like, the more I think about it, the more I want him to take that lightsaber too.
I know. Like,
but that's the
longer journey. Maybe
I said it to the TV. Pick the lightsaber.
So I think you can have your cake, eat your cake and have it too, as the Unabomber said. He goes to the Mandalorian now, but he lives for 900 years, so you can do the Grogu and Rey show whenever you want to do it. And so we get to have and I want them together. I need them together.
That sounds incredible. The Grogu and Rey show. Well, Finn better be there. I want Finn to be like a Jedi who wields a blaster and a lightsaber. Like, I'm dying for that canon.
Heck, I would do the Grogu and Finn show. Like,
Finn,
that would be amazing.
That'd be amazing. Yeah.
Here's the other reason I think he's picking the armor. So I feel like this episode was a test of concept idea, which is how viable is it to have long scenes with face replacement technology, and can we engage with that for long periods of time?
Because that would be the lightsaber.
No, because here's the thing. Because here's my thought is, because then if he picks the lightsaber, if we were to have a Luke Skywalker show, which I think this is setting up, to be honest, I think we are getting a Luke Skywalker show at some point soon.
I
know this is proof of concept. No,
say it for it to be true.
It's Ben. Say it. No, it's because it's proof of concept, right? Like, this works. And so if you have him keep the lightsaber, this show then becomes into a Luke and Grogu show, which is interesting, but also is somewhat limited. Versus if Grogu leaves, he has no students, which means Luke has to go out into the galaxy to search for artifacts and search for Force sensitive people, which is a much more interesting show.
Yeah, I have really no desire to watch a Jedi Academy live action show. I think that would be a waste of Mark Hamill's time. I want to see Searching the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Don't you think Grogu should just have that saber though? Like when is Luke gonna meet another Yoda-like species?
Exactly.
When? Get out.
So Luke is gonna give it to him and be like, okay, follow this path, but you know what? If you ever change your mind, like follow the Force. May the Force be with you always, and give him Yoda's lightsaber.
Because Ahsoka's not a Jedi and she has lightsabers.
Yep. Yeah.
So a lightsaber a Jedi does not make.
Right. And how could you deny that child a beautiful lightsaber?
He loved it.
With
when
no
he saw
training.
it ignite. He was like, I want that.
Yeah.
Or maybe
he would hurt himself. I'm worried about his ears.
Oh,
like, I'm so worried. And
he tried to eat it. Yeah.
Is this part of Luke's?
Allow a new look for? I just don't know how that chainmail's gonna look, guys.
I don't know either. I'm very worried about that too.
I'm like,
I don't think it's gonna look great.
I think it's gonna be like Lord of the Rings. It's gonna be like Mithril that he'll wear under his potato sack.
Exactly. He'll just be under so you don't actually see it.
Baby Grogu with like melee instruments that he
Cad Bane, because he's a you know what. So
what if Cad Bane lays a finger on Grogu?
That's where we get like
it's gonna protect him from lightsabers too. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we might see is if like Cad Bane takes a pot shot at Baby Yoda and then he falls over and like he doesn't know he's wearing the mithril, then we get the Mandalorian losing his stuff. But I think that it's just
Baby Yoda can jump in front of a bullet. Guys, Baby Yoda can jump in front of a blaster bolt. I'm walking away.
Yeah, he's totally into it. Also, part of me wonders, is Luke setting us up for a false dichotomy lesson?
Whoa, you just went really highbrow there, man.
That is going to happen. I'm promising.
What I mean is is Luke setting him up to be like, this is not really a choice you have to make. You can have both. Like, for all we know, Luke is trying to change something of like, what my connection to my father is actually what saved me and saved him in the end. Right. So maybe what he's actually teaching him is that, no, you don't have to choose. You can have both. Take the lightsaber, take the armor, go save your friend. Because by the way, the last time I was with someone like you told me not to go save my friends and you were wrong. Like, maybe that's actually what we're learning here. Is that like, maybe it's a lesson in showing him that there's not these, you have to choose one or the other. You can do both.
Yeah. They did a really nice job of setting up Grogu to make the choice for himself. And I mean, no one really knows Grogu's intellect level. It seems, infantile and childish, but who knows, it's a different species.
I mean, he's dealing with a lot of trauma. Like
a lot of trauma.
That is what that character represents. That character has really intense trauma, and it's just heartache. It's heartache. It's tough. That character represents the attack. That character represents the fall of the Jedi in like a major way that like Luke can't really represent because he came after that. So this character represents the whole, and the his aging process lends to that in a wonderful way where he can stand for that time, be connected to Yoda, be at that pivotal junction in history, and continue forward, having that memory, that trauma from that moment. It's like, wow, he's history. He's walking around. He's Star Wars history.
There could be Grogu stories after we're dust. Like
Anakin saving him would be poetic, super poetic.
Yeah,
makes perfect sense. And Hayden is like, where is the Hayden footage? Like, he's clearly doing Obi.
Oh, you gotta wait for it. You gotta wait for it. You gotta. They're gonna save that for Obi.
Was Boba.
All right, I'll just call it because I'm gonna make it not happen because everything I've said has been wrong. But I think we are now moving into the territory where we are going to get after the credits scenes at the season finale of most shows, hinting at the next show, teasing the next show. If the next show is Obi-Wan, maybe we do get an after the credits Anakin and Grogu scene very quickly. Like maybe we get that.
Actually, no, it wouldn't happen.
Grogu, Anakin, Luke,
with Vader
Anakin, Ahsoka. Like any one of those would be crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of meditating, and so there's definitely lends to flashbacks, and visions, and you have great legacy characters that you can always bring back in Star Wars. No one's ever truly gone, as Luke said.
Yeah.
There's so much you can do visually, and but just it has to be meaningful and it has to make sense and not feel forced in any way. And I feel like an Anakin you want to be very delicate with, just because like so much of that character on screen already, and then it's hard to judge so harshly.
That's why I think
now,
they're
if you want to do
separate
Anakin stuff, it has to be like perfect. Like you have to reinvent like how Anakin is shot, what he is essentially on screen. You have to reinvent the magic of what that character could represent. I don't know. That's kind
tough.
of
it's tricky.
That's really tough.
All right, so we're shooting off like into the far future here. Let's just say, how is episode 7 going to end? Where are we going to be when episode 7 ends?
Don't you want the Jurassic Park Rancor roar like Boba wins most Espa?
I don't know. I mean, I do, but I have a feeling that Cad Bane is just going to kill everybody.
Yeah,
I do. I think he
I
wins.
Have that same exact feeling, which is good to have going into the finale. That's good stuff.
Yeah,
I think he wins but loses everything. Does that make sense? Like I think he comes out triumphant, but everything is just destroyed at the end.
Like that
he's just like, I have to move on. Like this is like I won, but at what cost? Type of thing.
Right, exactly. Garz is
anyone
gone.
a
All
mole
his friends are
inside
gone.
his group?
Yeah.
Adam, still, do you have that belief at all? Is anyone in his group, in his inner circle, working with Cad Bane?
Yeah.
And it's going to be that happens in all gangster films.
It does. That's why.
Always.
And if anything, the show has shown they follow the tropes pretty closely. Yeah. But I mean, I'm happy to be wrong because the only person I really think it could be, is I can't think of her name now. Suddenly is Fennec Shan. Which I don't want to see, but I'm suspicious.
There's almost set up for that in this episode, given just how much like sway she has with the group and like how she is giving the debrief in this episode, and it's like, oh, if anything was to go bad, she could make it go bad so quick because it seems like she's moving the pieces for Boba. Like it seems like,
isn't it interesting that Cad Bane shows up immediately after the Mando's there? Not at some other time, because if he was showing up specifically because he dumped, Spice, he could show up anytime. But we know that
Mando's going to this
like he
town,
was following Mando.
Go to where he's going and tell that town to not.
Right. Yeah. So Mando was at the meeting where Fennec Shan and everyone else in Boba was there and said, "I know someone. I'm going to go visit this person." And then suddenly Cad Bane shows up afterwards and happens to take care of someone who might be.
Okay. All right, that's great. You know why I love that is because Fennec Shan is so smart, and Fennec is like like a fox, like a desert fox.
Mm-hmm. Foxes are tricky.
Yeah,
he got shot in the gut.
Native American fox like lore and Campbellian Native American studies. Like this character might be a trickster, honestly. But
I think
I
this is
love
some
this
deep
character.
State like conspiracy theory. Fennec Shan is evil. And
wait, she fights Cad Bane in.
I think it's funny, but I really don't think it's.
Does she not?
Sure, that was like 30 years ago. Things change.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. All right, it's a wild theory, you guys. You gotta. I like it, and you might be right.
It's a good theory because it immediately
happy to be wrong.
The enforcer mismatch. You know what I mean? Like it immediately fixes.
Yeah, it does fix it. I just don't think that they would take Fennec off the board for future projects.
Well, I mean,
Cad
doesn't
or
necessarily
Fennec
take her off
the board. They
it
might
doesn't take her off the board.
Just keep her around as a bad character,
right? And you can also have the redemption, right? You can have the redemption arc, which is what we have in Star Wars all the time.
Did we not just read like a 50-issue comic arc where it was like all the bounty hunters clashing and no one dies? Like we're good. Like,
yeah, we sure did.
All right, so I have a theory. I think it comes from the last episode 5, where they were talking about building up the covert and like adding people to their clan. And I was like, oh, like
Grogu.
that's next season. Well, so I mean, it could be almost anybody if you really think about it.
Yeah. Anyone
because like who are candidates if suddenly Din Djarin is like goes on his pilgrimage with maybe this like little cadre he's building up, this ensemble. And they're like, oh, we'll go with you. And then he goes to he gets the waters and he comes back and they're like, we need more Mandalorians. Who's he going to tap if he's asking for Mandalorians? And so, like, I mean, I think we already have Clan Mudhorn is Grogu and Din Djarin.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, think about who would make great man. I mean, Boba Fett is like, maybe I think all of his people get killed. He gets kicked out of Mos Espa and has nothing else to fight for. He doesn't want to be a bounty hunter anymore. And so Din Djarin's like, go be a Mandalorian. And then, Fennec Shan would make a great Mandalorian. You know who else would? Black Kersantan would make a great Mandalorian. And
I've never seen a
maybe
Wookiee
I'm drunk with
Mandalorian, but
power because of a couple
I'll
of
see
right
it.
guests. But you know where I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, if suddenly this is like this super team, like Avengers
Ben,
Mandalorian
if I learned
Squadron,
anything, I'm listening to every word you're saying.
Yeah, no, honest to God.
Documenting.
100% going to happen. If you want to hear
you've
some...
totally jinxed me now. That's it.
Yeah.
But no, that's what I don't know. I just heard that in that last episode, and I was like, yes, find more Mandos. That's a fun show.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, you build up with
Is
this
there-
squad, dude. Black K and Beskar. Are you kidding me?
I would love to see it. I just don't know if Boba's whole gang is going to go be Mandos. I feel like
And then he's going to
Bo-Katan
combine all
needs
the
to come back,
forces
'cause-
with other Mandos.
we set up Bo-Katan with the armor. We mentioned her.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a
that's
big
gonna be
setup
season
there.
3
for
for sure.
Hey, where's Bo-Katan? And she's got to come back.
Yeah, but she's going to be an antagonist then, I think, when the next time we
Yeah.
see her. Because Clan Kreese is
She
gonna-
left being like, next time I see you,
Jeez.
I'll kill you or something. Or what did she
Yep.
s- She was
Yeah.
like, next time I see you, it's gonna get real. Like,
Yeah, because I
I'm
need to
taking
get that
Yeah, I was like,
dark saber.
Yeah.
oh, let's go. Yeah, I was like,
Oh, yeah.
let's go. Like, I'm down.
Is
Clan
there-
Kreese want smoke. They want smoke.
Yeah. Is there any chance Boba Fett ends up back in the Sarlacc pit after at the end of this
Whoa,
episode?
The Sarlacc
That
dead.
is tragic.
Oh, that's right. I
That
forgot I forgot the Sarlacc pit was
Yeah, it was
destroyed.
a
I forgot it was
destroyed-
completely destroyed with a sonic torpedo.
Imploder,
nonetheless.
yeah.
Never mind. All right, because part of me is like, because that would also be like a really good ending to, like, if you're going into the second one, is you end at a low point of like he's been betrayed by his trusted whatever, and
Yeah.
they just like, I know what to do with him. But
Right.
never mind. I forgot
Because,
the
like,
Sarlacc pit was blown up, which was
I
amazing.
think Boba Fett has 3 paths, right? He can either win the day and become this like domo of some podunk town in Tatooine,
Yep.
which seems like a waste of talent.
Yeah.
He can lose. He could become a bounty hunter again.
Yeah.
And just decide. Yeah, so he could lose and then decide I'm just going to go hunt bounties, but I really don't think
that's-
he's going to do
yeah.
that. Or a third
No.
one is I'm going to embrace my Mandalorian roots. This is my
Isn't-
tribe.
yeah.
My tribe are these people, and they're taking me in, and then go find some other exploits on
I
Mandalore.
know, the way the show's structured makes me think the ending will be like Twin Sons and Tuskens and Boba. But like the way I want the show to end is like Boba loses everything and has to take a mission from the Hutts on Nal Hutta, and it like ends. That's how
Yeah.
I want it to end.
Yeah, that's how I want it to end. Here's my new ending.
They won't do that, but
He wins but loses, and the last shot is him just wandering back out into the desert.
sure. Or it'd be great if I don't know. Like I feel
That'd be
like there's
wild.
a
I'd
real
love that.
killer instinct in Boba. Like, and I don't know what it is. There's some sort of berserker style to him. That's like
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I mean,
he's
we've
going to
seen
go
it.
berserk. He's
definitely,
He is.
definitely
In
taken
this
from
ep- in the
Boundaries.
next
He's
episode,
gonna
survive.
That
He's
whole
it
thing
just,
is built
like-
in now. Just makes me think at the very end of this season, he could be like, "I'm good at one thing, and that one thing is like dispatching people." You know what I mean? Like he's good at taking
Yeah.
people out. Like and like kind of like lean into that. Like that's what
Well-
I do. And I'm like Wolverine style. Like I'm good at what I do. You know?
So, not to double down on my own theory, but if Fennec Shand is a traitor, I mean, and she gets away with it, isn't that season 2? Is him being a bounty hunter, but he's hunting one bounty, which is Fennec Shand, just
That's great.
hunting down
That's
Fennec
great.
Shand.
across the
That's a
galaxy.
good bounty too, because there's a lot of fun cat and mouse that can happen there with Fennec outsmarting him and
Because
trying.
like, one of the biggest complaints is that Boba Fett hasn't gone anywhere other than here, which is not my complaint. I actually quite strangely, I didn't think I would, enjoying how much he's not traveling, and we get a little bit of the travelogue stuff with the Mandalorian, but I don't think you can sustain that. Ben, as you mentioned, like season 2, I don't think we could have him being like,
Yeah.
here's season 2, he's still in Mos Espa.
That's why I think he gets absorbed by the Mandalorian.
Yeah, that could
the
be
show
that
the
could be too.
Mandalorian.
Yeah,
Like he gets one
Why was
season.
Fennec on
Yeah.
Tatooine in the first place? Do we remember?
Because she's a life debt with not really,
she
but
was on
she
the run.
chooses to be with Boba Fett.
On the run
Well,
from who?
I don't.
Oh, she
think-
was on the run. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're right.
because he picked up
From
her
Cad
bounty
Bane,
with
possibly?
baby Bobby Carnival.
Yeah.
And then She was just. Yeah, I don't think we heard why. I don't remember. We have to look back, but yeah.
Actually, I have that thing up, so I could look.
That might be important. I don't know. It'd be cool to check that out again.
That's the gunslinger, right? That was the one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Elite mercenary and assassin Fennec Shan. Yeah, she's just on the run, and it's a Toro Calican, aspiring bounty.
Sure.
I was like Treasure of Sierra Madre kind of movie. It was like she was up in the hills, like shooting down. Yeah, this kind of thing.
Yeah.
That was a fun episode. Toro Calican gets a lot of backlash. I don't know why. People really.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, I don't know. Who cares?
I mean, that character was exactly what that character was supposed to be.
Yeah, he was perfect. He did his thing.
You're not supposed to like him.
Yeah, I know. That character's like, he's supposed to be a middle of the road character. You're like, do I like this guy?
No, and he's cocky and he's whatever, and
that's fine. That's how you're supposed to feel.
And that was the first time we saw Boba Fett, way back in season 1. And that was a Filoni directed episode. So.
I don't know. I really did look at like the shoe matching, like the leg matching. I feel like there's like some differences in the clothing and a separate scene, but
it was supposed to be the sound cue was supposed to tip you off.
The spurs. Yeah.
That's wild that they went on. That's wild that they used that sound cue, because 90% of the people I talked to didn't get that. They were like, "What? That's Boba Fett's spurs?"
And then,
like, yeah, he has spurs, I guess. But
and they showed the conversation with Favreau and Filoni talking about it in the behind the scenes, and Filoni's like, "Everyone's gonna know this." He's like, "As soon as you have the spurs, everyone's gonna know." And
they're
they're
pretty in touch with what we want as fans, but like, that's a lot of time.
Yeah.
It's like
he might be right. There's probably a tier of Star Wars fans that are like, "Oh, that's Boba Fett spurs," and like, just get it.
I don't think. I mean, I don't think we were. I don't think
we know about the jangle.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't even know the jangle, dude.
We
jangle
nail it. But I'm pretty sure if we go back and listen to that episode, we kept going like trying to speculate, and we're all like, but we're like, but it's Boba Fett. Like every time we kept going, like, well, maybe it's this, and we come back to like, but it's Boba Fett.
Wait, in that episode, way back when we really,
I'm pretty sure, and we were like certain it was Boba Fett. I don't think we knew because of the spurs. We were just like,
I think I said Cad Bane or something. Every time it's a Western trope, I'm like, Cad Bane, maybe, I don't know.
I think as I remember, is we kept coming up with possible other people, but I think we kept coming back around to like, but it's Boba Fett. I could be wrong. Go back to episode and
we'll have to go back, but no, maybe we did. I don't know. We did go through a lot of characters, so definitely go back and listen to that episode, because if you like hearing us just rifle through like 30 characters that we think could appear in something. I think we did it.
If you don't, you probably don't listen to this podcast, because that's what we did.
Yeah, and if you don't like that, I don't know why you're still listening.
Then you are not listening to this right now. You left about
an hour. You left about 2 minutes into this podcast.
45 minutes ago.
But if you stayed here this long, I think
there's out now.
Welcome. And you're probably from Norway. Welcome.
Yes, I know. I can't even.
We're so grateful.
We're still doing great in Norway, guys. It's interesting.
I'm actually going to visit. Once
things
settle
down,
beautiful
country.
Goes home, I'm gonna go visit.
I should start doing research so I can start like naming.
Is it calming down now?
Yeah, we're practically endemic. We're almost there, man.
Okay.
Yeah, almost. We're kind of Boof.
There's a pill. I heard there's a pill.
There's a pill. They're going to be doing vaccinations for 6 months and over soon. It's an endemic.
Yeah.
Yay! We got here because people are dumb.
You know what? No one knows about particulates like aerosol in the Star Wars galaxy.
Nope.
No one cares.
It's cool. When you spend so much time
Mandos, they know. Mandos are like, "Have you ever taken your helmet off?" You definitely have the vid. Like, kindly leave.
That's right. If you never take your helmet off, you don't have to worry about variants. Another honorable mention: Joseph Shirley did the score.
Wait,
we'll never really know
that one beat when they builder droids, the ant droids. Ben, I know you were there for that.
Yep, the whole thing, dude. Yep.
It was like I was like bobbing like it was a rap beat or something. I was like into that track specifically.
That was great. And then it just seamlessly, if it was Shirley or Goranson, I don't really know, but someone seamlessly integrated the Mandalorian themes and the like classic John Williams themes. And
it all worked together.
Can we talk about like the
natural,
like horrific, like weird shrills of the Cad Bane scream, the theme where it's like you heard like some screaming, like it was like what? It was like what was that? It was like chanting,
it was screaming.
It did a great job of making
Actually,
you
yeah.
the wind.
I
very
just
unsettling.
heard violins. That
Cad
was in
Bane's
your
thing
head,
sounded
Grant.
like.
You just heard screaming in your brain.
Yeah, there was no
That's
score.
So this is for like listeners to understand Cad Bane in animated series versus live action. In animated series, like he gets like a couple like plucks on the banjo and like he appears. There's like the classic Western sort of like rattles and snake rattle and stuff.
Yeah.
In live action, there's just someone screaming in the wind when this character appears.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
a
'Cause it's
stark
your big dad.
difference of
'Cause you have to be
portrayal of,
instantly
like,
scared of him.
characterization. It's like-
Dude, I loved how you only saw his mouth. And also he never says his name, even though he's asked his name.
Nope.
But he's just like, it's his like hat brim over his eyes and then the slow look. Like, so I mean, he's terrifying, then the slow look up, and he's more terrifying when you see his face.
Yeah.
red eyes, just giant
Just
red
white.
eyes.
Yeah. And sharp teeth. He has
Sharp teeth.
And
Yeah.
gnashing his teeth as he
Yeah.
talks. gritting-
Perma scowl. Like it's the
Perma-scowl,
face of like, it is the face of like warriors and battle.
he
It's like in
clubs
Haka, you make your
Deputy
face look
Scott
like
like 4 times. I was like, this just like went like Sicario level violent. If this is Disney
Yeah.
Plus, but like it's an alien. This is what we talked about. This guys, we talked about this like
Alien.
so long ago. We were like, alien leads have the power to do like they can push the envelope like gender fluidity. They can push the envelope with violence. They can push the envelope with all the things that people have like political issues with. Because they're humanoid. They're not like us exactly. And so we can project our real explorations onto them. And
It's
so
the Star
why not
Trek
have them
method.
appear in different mediums,
Yeah.
shows, comics, full series devoted to Bosk. Let's get into his culture, full comic
go.
series, something like the Cad Bane stuff is awesome. In this
But
episode.
think about how far we've come, because in the Mandalorian season 2, at the very end when they raid, they're all humans, right? And Mandalorians, but they're all humanoids. And at the end of this season, we're going to have 2 groups face off that at least have one alien in each group. We're going to have a giant Wookiee on one side and a Duros.
Duros, yeah, good
technically the whole, Pike army are aliens.
Right, and all the Pikes. Yeah. Good
yeah.
call.
Pikes are slow on the draw, though.
Yeah,
like, they get
Gamorreans.
chumped.
Gamorreans, the Gamorreans too, right?
The
We're gonna have a lot of
Gamorreans are
aliens.
We're
great in
gonna
this
recruit
episode,
like
actually.
a Gamorrean
Yeah.
species, like a really strong, like powerful fighting
Yeah.
species.
I've actually, the Gamorreans I thought were the best they've been yet in this one. There's the like bodyguard in the hangar, and then there's the one that gets after the mayor's aide there. Like when he says something
They look
stupid,
a little
he like,
chubbier.
like
They're like
squeals a little.
girthier. They look
Yeah, they're starting to build them out. They're
towards
starting
the
to
end
get
of the
them
season.
closer and closer
Looking
to
good.
Jabba.
And they emoted more, which they usually don't, but it's just sort of like you get the menacingness of the Gamorreans in this episode. I thought that was super. Okay. I
This
think
was a glowing review.
this was
Yeah, it's
something-
fine. It was a 7 out of 10. It was whatever.
All right,
Yeah.
we gotta end it. We gotta.
Yeah,
We did,
if
we
you're
did
still
a good job,
listening
guys.
to
We
us
got
2
there.
hours later, thank you so much for doing that. We appreciate it. We hope you love this episode as much as we did. Next week there will be carnage. It's just going to be carnage, and I think it's going to come out next Friday, so a couple days after the finale. And we're going to try and record it in person because rather than separated into different parts of our star station here, space station. So that'll be fun. Thanks very much for listening to us. Greatly appreciate it. Let's talk next week when we get the finale of Book of Boba Fett. You are one with the Force, and the Force is with you.
There you go.
This is Grex Kondak signing off. For the latest breaking news, follow @CoreWorldNews on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you and good night.
Remember, the Force will be with you always.